All right, good evening. Welcome to our April 28th meeting. Hard to believe we're encroaching on May 1, thank goodness. Going to call this meeting to order at 7:01, the meeting of the Select Board. And just a note that we've made a change. We cannot keep up with the chat as we have our meeting and still conduct this meeting in an efficient manner. And so Tyler has disabled the chat, but of course you still have the ability to speak at public comment in the beginning of the meeting and also at the end. So y'all should feel free to do so. And of course, you can submit community feedback, which we've continued to receive about various issues before the town right now as we get closer to town meeting. So you should feel free to send those comments to Tyler and he'll ensure that they come to us when it's appropriate to do so. So, and then I'd like to have the moment of silence and celebration. So we were informed that John Nick Stone, who's been a longtime resident of McMahan, many, many summers, all but 3 of his 92 summers were spent on McMahan. He was an important contributor to our town, including with the GHS, serving as a board member, was an intrepid sailor, and wrote a fair amount of poetry after his retirement in 2005, having had 4 collections published. And so there'll be a memorial service this summer on McMahan to celebrate Nick Stone III. And if you're on the age-friendly list, also known as Jim Peavy's email list, you will have seen that obituary that covers more in depth Mr. Stone's passing. We do also have a couple of things to celebrate coming up this week, one of which is, of course, our Spirit of the America Award winners, Emily Herman and Dave Polito, and they'll be celebrated Thursday at the Saginaw County Courthouse at 10 o'clock. So for all of y'all who want to come help us celebrate Dave and Emily's very much deserved award, please do that. And then also we'll be celebrating, as yet unknown, Georgetown's 2025 Citizen of the Year at the Get to Know Your Neighbor event. So we'll hear more about that. And do y'all have anything to add to the moment of silence or the celebrations? Okay.
I would just note that Nick Stone also was McMahan Island's only registered voter. They do not allow year-round residents, but it is where he felt he was at home and was at home the most often of the many places he was. So
thank you.
A little chapter.
That's interesting. Okay, great. All right, so we are ready for public comment. And we do have some folks in the room with us, and we can start in the room if there's any public comment.
I did regarding the draft that's going to be talked about today.
There will be we will be. There are some proposed ordinances that that are still before the board. There's the demolition and building ordinance. There is the shoreland zoning ordinance, the
minimum lot size,
and the minimum lot size ordinance
and
that
working waterfront,
and the working waterfront. So we will be discussing those briefly today, but if there are questions about any of those ordinances, Luke, then now might be the time to raise it. But we will be discussing those a little bit later tonight too, and then there'll be another public comment period.
Should I wait till after the discussion to comment?
That's entirely up to you. Yeah.
I'll wait then.
Okay. All right, are there any public comments on Zoom? Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, just one quick one. Disabling the chat, eliminating public comment before the motion to table the short-term rental issue. I think it should make us all worried about transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any other public comments? All right, then let's turn to, it's time for us to recess this meeting, and we will convene the Board of Assessors meeting. So we'll turn to those items. And Tyler, you want to take us through
Yeah, so
what should be addressed, please?
we have a couple of items to address tonight. Two items, the 689 Bay Point Road, Gert Paul Walter abatement request regarding land valuation, as well as the 46 Stevens Lane Magliozzi abatement request. I'm recommending that we send those on to the assessor. In full disclosure, we did have Bill Van Tynen on the island yesterday, and I brought Bill to those properties knowing that this recommendation would be coming today. Bill will then ultimately be issuing some recommendations on those abatements as well as a slew of others. But I officially, we've sent them on to Bill, and to save us a little bit of money when coming back on trips, we figured we'd do them all in one swoop. So I'd recommend for 689 Bay Point and 46 Stevens Lane, we officially send those on to the assessor or the assessing agent. And then afterwards, I'll speak a little bit further about the J.A. Pryor Seguinland.
Okay, is there a motion, as regards the, first two assessments that Tyler referenced, please?
I move that we send the abatement request on to, the assessor for 689 Bay Point Road and 46 Stevens Lane.
I'll second that. Okay. All those in favor?
All right, and so we are going to get those off to Bill. And again, Bill's intention is to be getting the abatements that have stacked up a bit. Hopefully have a handful of them on our next agenda and then continue to push on through. As I've discussed at previous board meetings, we had our appeal, or rather J.A. Pryor Seguinland LLC on Seguinland Road had its appeal to the County Board of Assessment Review. They issued their finding of fact, reducing the land valuation on that property by $288,800. That was due to a difference in measuring of the shoreline, and they felt that that was an appropriate reduction. We have in the warrant tonight, the permission to send off the check that we must send off to Mr. Peterson or J.A. Pryor Seguinland LLC. He's the partner of that LLC. What I request tonight is that we actually also move forward with an abatement for this year. The select board has the power to do an administrative abatement. Technically, the abatement appeal that was filed was just for that one tax year, but because we went in with the recommendation of reducing that valuation, Bill Van Tynen thinks that it would be in our best interest to also, for the year that we are currently in for
Right.
taxes, to abate. So if there was a motion along those lines, 288,000, or to accept, the BAR going forward, it would just save us from what likely would be another abatement application at the end of this month and start that whole process over again. I had thought about putting that right through to the warrant, but because they were two separate years, I didn't feel comfortable without the board's go-ahead, though it really is a good recommendation. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion, to essentially, at this point,
Administratively.
administratively abate, this property rather than wait, for the process to occur later this month, which we expect would occur because of the decision that just issued. So,
So moved.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And that was
Second.
just for the motion, per the findings of the bar?
that's right.
All right,
Yeah, and that's the Board of Assessment
yes,
review. So, okay.
different bar.
Yeah, different,
Um,
but just for
Yes.
people listening, yes.
and I
I
would
think that
note,
makes sense. Thank you for thinking of that, and for just being proactive and on top of that issue.
and I would note that interest accrues on the difference paid, and so with the abatement that we tackled with the Board of Assessment Review that's on this warrant, it was over 400 days of interest accruing on that difference, so by administratively abating this year,
Right.
we still could see another abatement come in if somebody still contested that valuation, but at least would get us in line of where our assessors been.
Right.
So with those votes, there's nothing else to add at this stage on the Board of Assessors.
Okay, then,
Can I just ask one question, Deb? So what you're requesting is that the board change the valuation on this property by this 288,000?
Yes,
Okay, so two separate things is what we're asking.
okay.
You know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Yes,
You're asking for an abatement for the year that we're in right now and to change the record.
right. Yes,
That's
that's
for
what
now.
I
So we,
understood.
we need to adjust the,
value.
no, the motion.
We'll make a second.
Okay.
We could take that as a friendly amendment as well.
Yep,
So
absolutely. Yep.
to officially make it that we're changing the valuation administratively versus the words I used about the bar, but same intent at the end.
There's a couple different schools of thought on that, just so that
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
when you appeal your valuation, you're going to Saginaw County, they're saying,
right,
this is what we say the valuation is.
right,
There's one school of thought that says this is only for this year.
right.
There's another school of thought that says the Board of Assessment review just changed the valuation on this
That-
property,
right.
read this.
Right, exactly.
So,
So
You know,
are
that's
we,
the side-
are we interpreting it that it's going to continue?
correct,
The future?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would
At
note,
least for this year.
and I would note, not in Georgetown, there are other towns where sometimes you wouldn't take the step that we're taking because you intend to continue to appeal the process and go on, but with the fact that Bill Van Tynen recommended
Well,
this
that's-
reduction,
Right.
you know, we just want to get our records accurate.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
I'm following his
Mhm.
expertise in that
That
regard.
makes sense. And then the next time it would be, the value would change is when it's actually reassessed.
Right,
Right,
Mhm.
that's it. Yeah. Right,
thank you, Mary.
yes, thanks for
Do we
that.
need to make a motion to amend? Or do we need to amend?
You can have a second motion or,
Are we good?
Or did I just do that?
We've got it in principle, so if we want to, we can always, I just want to go back to some of my paperwork to get it correct if we want to go right to the T, so.
okay.
But
If we need,
this at least gets this in motion for the next meeting, we can
Exactly.
formalize it.
that's what I was gonna say. If we need to, we can just finalize it at the May 12th, but for
Perfect.
certain, double check it against your documents. That makes sense. All right,
Um,
and
Can I pause
Yes.
for a sec? I can't find the most recent agenda. I don't know.
I sent it out this morning with minutes,
Yeah, the 7 o'clock one,
not
Sorry.
there.
10:15.
If we go
Oh, said later.
right in here,
This one.
this
That's
one,
what I was just
Nope.
looking at.
go
Oop,
back,
Sorry,
this one,
this one.
yep. And it says final agenda, and it should be
Mhm,
right
it
there.
is. Thank you.
The other one, we went out on Friday and had some of those highlights of things to be filled in.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
all right, so, the Board of Assessors meeting is now concluded and we are returning at 7:13 to the Select Board meeting. And with that, we will, take up the minutes of March 24. Did everybody get a chance to review those?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And is
I
there a
moved.
motion related to that?
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes from March 24th.
I second.
All right,
Thank
all
you.
those in favor?
Perfect.
And then let's turn to April 8. Did folks get a chance to review those?
I move to accept the minutes, April 8th.
I second.
All right, all those in favor? Unanimous?
And I would recommend tabling of the April 14th minutes.
Okay, and we'll do that. I'll make a motion to table those minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
And that is unanimous. Thank you.
Are those the draft? I mean, I understand they're probably still in draft, so. All right, and how about the continuing items, please, Tyler?
We did receive a receipt for pumping for a holding tank by the Heimels on Old Schoolhouse Road. We also received notification of a NERPA for Sam Crosby. They've been, or rather permit by rule, not NERPA. The Fisherman's Co-op had to go through some substantive steps following the January storms. They weren't on the same expedited path that we were as municipalities, so this is related still to some of those repairs. And I would just note, unrelated to this, but along those lines, the town still was involved in the grant program with the state of Maine, where we're kind of the pass-through agency for the co-op, where they're able to get reimbursements up to certain amounts based on what they have for expenditures. So you'll see on warrants, at least for another couple months, where we'll be taking some money in from DOT that is to go out to them. So just for what that's worth.
Do you wanna? I just made a note about DOT. We'll come back to that, because I think we'll cover that in your
Yes.
report, yes. I've had some questions about the roads, and I know that we've got a plan, so I don't wanna
Absolutely.
leave off the questions about the roads.
And I just note under review, I put in the signed affinity
Yeah.
lighting contract. It does say singed. I will not be singing that tonight. My apologies on that typo.
Oh, man, I got. Thank you. It'll be nice to have it occur simultaneously with the rest of the building.
Absolutely.
And then we've got some correspondence.
We received funding notifications from Senator Angus King's office. Maine Department of Transportation also is going to be having an upcoming public meeting at Georgetown Central School on the 5th of May relative to the road raising in Arousick. Several meetings ago, this board joined on with Arousick on some advocacy that actually got picked up by Maine Morning Star and some other entities, but effectively, DOT has heard the town's concerns, wants to come in. Arousick unfortunately does not have a venue big enough that is ADA accessible to accommodate the crowd they believe that could come. So Georgetown will play host, and I'm thankful for that because it'll give DOT a chance to drive further down 127 and experience what we're living through.
Yes.
I would note, this is not a meeting about the paving of 127. I know there's been some communication in the community that folks might think otherwise. I would say if you've got a public official, you can always ask them questions, and I've encouraged some of our folks to go to that. We have heard peripherally, Angie spoke with DOT on the phone that they should be starting their paving in the month of May, which we're super excited about. In the same breath, I don't have a firm start date yet, but I'm glad that DOT has recognized that Georgetown's roads are not the best and that we are going to be at the start of their work plan. Versus last year, we were at the end following Woolwich, and Woolwich took longer. So for what that's worth.
Yeah.
I sent along the updated notice regarding the Spirit of America award ceremony on Thursday. Lots of great folks in Saginaw County that are being recognized. Maine Municipal Association has an upcoming technology conference. As there are unique classes that MMA puts on, I'll always be passing those along just in case anyone is interested. And Age Friendly Georgetown had a notice out about their propane and heating oil purchasing group. And I just wanted to make sure board members have that information as well. Should a resident reach out with, where can I find this resource? Well, we've got a lot of good resources in Georgetown.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's what I had for correspondence.
Okay, excellent. And so we will, we can start with, or turn now to board member, committee updates. And I can just kick that off real quick and talk about there's a few we really care about, and one of them is what the county budget's gonna look like. And so that's gone to the commissioners, and they, have made a few changes based on what our committee, had come up with for figures. The public hearing on that, is May 12th. So everyone in Georgetown is welcome to attend that public hearing. And so that's the evening of May 12th. I believe it's at 7:00. The difficulty for us, of
You have a
course, is
meeting then?
it's our own meeting.
Right.
But
Where is it?
it's at the county commissioner building in the county courthouse. So,
One of us go?
wait a minute. I think I just mixed that up. I believe it's May 7th. It's May 7th.
Thursday?
Yes, it's May 7th. So my apologies about that. And happy to answer any questions, but it is still, Mary, I know you care most in this. It's still just under 10% at that 9.9%,
Okay.
I believe, but we'll see what comes out of the commissioners. As
Right.
you know, it's a
Yeah,
different scenario, what the committee recommends and then
Right.
what the commissioners
Right.
end up voting on.
and I got online to see about the draft, but it's not there
Yeah,
yet.
it's not there yet,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't, Jill Flaherty's working really hard, on this and has been for weeks, and, she's their new town administrator and finance director, so
Yeah.
she's got a lot of, working knowledge of this budget and, which we've all appreciated. The Board of Appeals, is having their meeting on the 30th, so this Thursday, and they will be, taking the first steps on that. They have an appeal of a variance coming out of the planning board that they will be addressing. And so that will be this Thursday. And then, the rec committee, of course, is the sponsoring, and it's, being, thankfully hosted again at the community center, the Get to Know Your Neighbor on Sunday from 12 to 2. And as I mentioned before, that will, besides having, a nice community event, we'll have the jammers there singing, get to know, the Citizen of the Year will be announced. Periwinkle pies will be offered. The Ospreys, offered to donate, some of their chowder, so get there early if you want chowder. And there will be, I think the Working League has made desserts, so thank you to all of, the folks who have come together to help, make this a successful event. And I think there will be there may be one or two, local committees that, set up some, information about them and their, perhaps, it allows the new folks who, thank you, town office, Angie and Tyler, and whomever else helped to get that list over to the rec committee. And I think that's it for my updates.
Is Get to Know You Sunday at 1:12?
It's Sunday at 12. And, it's coastal cleanup, but you're probably gonna talk about that, so
Yes.
I'll leave that alone.
And I can take that off my list.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
The town is having a cleanup activity connection with Earth Day, which is last week, but they're doing it next weekend on Saturday. There's going to be a group meeting at school to work with the school. There's going to be a group working in the cemetery. With the cemetery, I should say the cemetery down here in the Round. And they'll be working with the Historical Society and the cemetery trustees, and then the Conservation Commission is going to be meeting at tennis courts at 9 to do some work in the Ipcot Preserve. So it's the planning board met with the town council on last week to review and discuss suggested edits that she had suggested to the draft shoreline zoning ordinance, draft minimum lot size ordinance, and draft building and demolition permit ordinance. And the revised drafts of those three ordinances are being presented to us to discuss tonight. Town Property Management Board met on April 21st last week. They have a group that's working on renovation and maintenance of the old stone schoolhouse on the Bay Point Road with a great group of volunteers who are sharing time and professional skills to do work around and on the building. Susie Wren and Jason Lang and Alex and Julie Cadden are volunteering specifically work in that area. Kennebec Marine has been out to evaluate repair of one of the ways, which broke loose sometime over the winter and sank just off the wharf at Five Islands. It needs to be reattached or something needs to be done there. And an electrician will be at the wharf within the next 2 weeks to check plugs at outlet. They do that every spring. It's just because it's a very humid place with a lot of salt in the air, so that needs to be done. And the 5-year lease renewal with Malden Island for their dock use at Five Islands is being prepared for their signature. Tyler attended that meeting. I was unable to get there in time.
It was a good meeting.
Thank you.
So, and they will be having that, I believe the Malden folks will be coming to their next meeting, but they've cleared out the spots where they had any disagreements, which there were none. I think that instead of an increase every year, it's just gonna be a flat fee of $2,500.
For 5 years.
Yes, so $2,500 each year.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
good. That's what I heard.
Gotcha.
And that's it.
Okay. Great, thanks Kathy. And yeah, for those of you who believe you can spare some time on Saturday, please join those of us who are gonna be out there for coastal cleanup. We could use it. It's a great way to spend more time with your neighbors, Saturday and Sunday.
And to piggyback onto that, the school is looking for volunteers Tuesdays and Wednesdays the next 2 weeks
Okay,
in the afternoon to clean up the garden.
okay.
So,
So all you master gardeners out there.
yeah,
And I think the Working League is also going to be working with the school to do what they
Oh,
can.
great.
I think they are, yeah. I
Yeah.
saw
Okay,
that.
great.
Yeah.
Good.
School committee met, or school board, school committee, met on the 23rd. It was over Zoom and my connection was a little shaky. Aria was there. The budget was approved and the hearing for that is May 11th at 5.
The public hearing.
Yeah. There is a new hire for special ed tech. They've been looking for an ed tech
All right.
like the whole school year, so that was really great to hear. The superintendent updated the board about some legislation that just came through that's changing the appeals process for superintendent agreements, where you can send your child to a school that maybe you work at or that's on a commute or whatever. And he updated us to that. The boilers are problematic at the school and slowly being addressed. Luckily, we're getting warmer weather, so it's not as big of a deal, but it definitely needs to be taken care of. Thursday is the talent show. Last day of school is June 18th, and the next meeting is on the 20th at 5 o'clock. And then the day after our last meeting was planning board meeting. They saw 3 building permit applications, a bakery here on Bay Point Road, a structure on Bareneck Island, and a path and platform at Ledgewood Preserve on Ledgemere Road. They tabled and are doing site visits to the island and the preserve. And I think those visits are happening this week with the weather cooperating.
One was already happened, the
Okay.
second was hopefully gonna happen tomorrow morning.
Yeah, right. The town attorney was in attendance for that meeting and the board discussed the building and demo right through the end of that meeting. It was very productive. We covered a lot. They were able to iron out some of the new language needed because of the state legislature on the building and demo ordinance. And they scheduled an additional meeting on the 20th that you were able to go to finish up. And Kristen was there for that too. The meeting ended. I'm not sure if it needs to be addressed, but I was asked to leave the room after the meeting was adjourned. The meeting seemed to continue. I'm not really sure what they talked about, but I heard the next day that it was about personnel. And we've talked about it. And yeah.
And so, when we get to the ordinances, Bob, I'm just gonna give you a heads up. I have a couple questions for you about those site visits. So we'll talk about that.
Sure.
Okay, cool, great, thanks. All right. If that's it for the committee updates, then we'll turn to Tyler, your TA update, please.
All right, I already noted that Bill Van Tyne was in town on Monday. We had a lot of fun finding Lisa Sabatine's property in the woods down Saginaw Bay. And we lived to tell the tale, so it was tons of fun. No, but, it was really good to get Bill down here. We've touched base on that. The town clerk asked that we put out notice. It's on our Facebook page and the website, but just a reminder, mooring fees are due by April 30th. Fees double on May 1st. Residents, it's a $25 fee, $60 for non-residents, and we will honor the postmark. I also wanted to flag, it's not gonna be a this year item, but in the future, there is a property tax school the Assessors Association puts on that is a couple days this year up in Waterville. I think Bill Van Tynen thinks it'd be good for me as an administrator just to take those classes. This year, it is the week before town meeting. It's the 1st of June through the 5th, so really doesn't time right for me to attend this year, but I will be keeping an eye for future ones and just wanted to flag that.
I think that makes sense for you to attend that.
Absolutely. So, in theory, this year, we could get most of the town meeting work done ahead of time and then but I'd like to get through the next couple of weeks before I make a firm commitment on being in Waterville for 4 days.
Well, I just wanna say I support you doing that.
Okay,
I think it's important. We rely on your analysis, at abatement time. I know we kick a lot over to Bill, but when we can.
Right.
Both to try to save money, but also when it doesn't seem complicated, then you can handle it. So it's good professional development for you.
well, I will circle back and just see timeline wise if that might be a possibility, but if not this year, it is on our radar, cause
Yeah.
they are really good classes, so.
Yeah, and no pressure for this year, at least not from my perspective.
And then lastly, we touched base about DOT. I spoke with Dale Savoy to let him know that we awarded his bid on the seating and he should be starting sometime in the month of May.
Great.
There's some work tennis court related that he's gonna get to first. He has some pickleball folks that are excited about that to happen, so he'll be getting here shortly thereafter.
Yes, I was asked by one of the players about the tennis courts. Do you have an update? Who's got the update about where that project is right now?
That would be the town-owned property management board.
Right.
The last meeting, it had not happened.
Okay,
And I believe it was a matter of, it was either before the winter and then winter came, so now it's at the time where Dale can get
Right.
done, so.
okay,
But
great.
I'll circle back with Mark Donovan
And it was held up too because of the memorandum of understanding between the three rec committee, conservation committee and town-owned property management board as to who had to be checked in on that. And I think everybody was, but
Okay, great. Yeah, I wasn't sure the status of it, so thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, great.
and that was it for me.
Okay. Mary, you're up.
Me, sorry, so I don't really have a whole lot, to talk about tonight. As, I think Katie mentioned, the school committee passed their budget, so I have updated the spreadsheets I've updated the town budget to include that.
Yep.
The property deeds have all been completed, everything's in except for splits. I'm adding Angie Mead as a secondary signer on the Bass Savings paperwork for the checking account and all that stuff, should a second signature be needed. And then I think I told you at the last meeting, I reached out to the auditors to find out where our 2025 audit is. They were waiting for the school. I think that they're closer now. The girl that I'm working with now, is out of the office, but I sent them some additional, they had like 5 questions for me today. So I sent them some additional paperwork. I'm expecting now that we'll get it, hoping by the end of June.
So I know at the last school board meeting or committee meeting, Kathleen was talking about their audit, and we know that auditors are behind because they, lack of research.
They're on any.
Yeah, there aren't any
that's the
accountants
problem.
anymore, but in any
Yeah.
event, so they need numbers from you, and it's not the same auditors, the district
It
uses, is it the same auditor?
We are both using RHR Smith.
You are, okay,
Yes.
great, so then
Yes.
they
But
can.
the school audit must be completed before our audit can be completed,
Right.
because they have to marry,
The
they have
two.
to put them together.
Yeah,
The school is a department of the town,
yeah,
period,
yeah,
and it must be reflected.
yeah,
So, so our audit was taken care of last December, I think. I
yeah,
think because we pushed it off.
right.
It was taken care of in December, and I think they just got theirs done, like February or something, but they were down there. So it's just a matter of getting it all married
Okay.
together.
But that's great. I didn't
Yeah.
know, cause I'm in and out of the school
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure who their auditor
Yeah.
was, but you're telling me it's the same
As
auditor.
far as I know, it is.
Okay. Good to know.
Yep. So, I'm expecting that stuff anytime. Other than that, I don't really have anything else.
And just because I wasn't clear, Kathleen is their finance director, the
Correct.
district's finance director, so she advises them on their budget, the school committee on their budget. And clearly is working with Mary to make sure that these things are happening in lockstep. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mary.
No problem.
All right, and do we have Chief Whalen?
I see Georgetown Fire Department, there he
All right,
is.
There we go.
Good evening, guys. Thank you.
Good evening.
Just like married, I don't have a big update for you guys tonight, which is just fine usually. So a couple things. I guess we'll start with the bad news. Currently, our engine 3 is out of service. It's up to Fleet Services in Gardner, getting a coolant leak fixed. We expect that just to be a couple days. Should have it back by the end of the week, from what they told us. Nothing major, but it's something they gotta get up underneath the truck for, and they couldn't do it on site when they did our inspections last week. So we'll get that worked on. Did discover we had a small propane leak at the station at one of our tanks that feeds a generator. Found that one day while I was out checking the tank levels. So had the gas company come down. They had it fixed that same afternoon. Really not a big deal, but yeah, I've been talking with Mary about possibly switching over our gas company to somebody a bit more local. So we're kind of in the process of looking into that right now. We had our ambulance billing information night the other week. Thought it went really well. We had pretty good attendance in person, a bunch more people online, and I don't know if it's been viewed much on the YouTube page yet, but I hope that the information is getting out. And if anyone has any questions regarding that, they feel free to contact me. I'll be glad to answer anyone's questions. whether that's in person, they can call, leave voicemail, send an email, whatever. So, yeah, we did that. We're about 32 calls for the year so far, which is a bit below our historically in the last couple of years. We're a little below where we're at otherwise, which is again, that's just fine. But we keep getting the calls answered for the most part, and yeah, we're working on the last formatting for the RFP for new ambulance. Working on getting that all together, and once it's kind of organized nicely, we'll get it sent out hopefully soon, and then we can start getting into, prices and costs, things like that. So, we're working on setting up a live fire training, and with Arousik and Woolwich, and very possibly West Bath also. So work with our mutual aid partners. We all get together. We go up to the training site in Bath and do a bunch of live training burns up there, which is hugely, hugely important for us to get the sets, get the reps, and put hands on the equipment, and actually do it for a little bit. So we're working on getting that set up for the end of the month, and not our regular trainings and meetings, which department meeting is next week, 2 weeks, sorry. So that's what I've got for you guys, unless you have any questions.
Don't have any questions?
No.
Brian, did you get any feedback from the community about, any follow-up after the EMS insurance billing night? Just-
Not a ton of feedback so far. Have heard from unfortunately, I did find that I talked to a few people who attended and watched it, who are still not really clear on how it was all going to work and the details and whatnot. So, clearing up a little bit of misconception, a little bit of detail stuff. So I feel like we still need to do a bit more and to get that kind of information out to people. It also will be helpful if we move forward with it, that like to have a set plan, know what where the plan will be, and then we can work on the details to work for our situation, um, which will be again a bit unique, not really quite as standard in the industry, but I do think would probably be the best possible solution. So yeah, I think there's still a bit of confusion out there, and I have heard from at least one person who is not really in favor of it for a few different reasons. And they are telling me anecdotally there's more of that out in town than I have heard, and which I have not heard a lot of uh, people who are not really in favor of it. So I'm actually going to reach out to some contacts in town and try to work on getting in touch with these people and hearing their point of view, because I feel like it's really important to hear from everybody on both sides too. Why where they're coming from and why. So
The reasons that were shared with you, and I'm not asking who shared them with you, but could you please give us or provide us what those reasons, if you recall, what the two reasons were for the person that was not supportive of it, and indicate that there was like-minded folks out there? also
yeah,
not-
so what I was told, this is kind of a broad strokes, is that it's I guess first of all, it's fundamentally it's a change from what we've been doing, how we've always done it kind of thing. Um, and they're like, yeah, this is a change that, I don't personally feel is needed, and also, um, is it worth what we might get for it? They weren't super impressed with the possible revenue numbers that we've come up with so far, and while they can see the benefit of that, it's not really going to be, they don't feel like it's really worth it on balance, to change how we've been doing things. And they're really proud of our fire department, proud of our community, and very proud that our community supports each other in the way that we have by just providing the service free of charge so far. Not free, but without any extra. So that's kind of where they were coming from. And I'm glad they shared that with me. So that's what we've got so far.
Okay. And I'm gonna put you on the spot, but you can take a pass. And are you ready to give us a recommendation on this, or do you want it sorted out some more, Brian?
As of right this moment, I'm not ready to give a recommendation one way or the other.
Okay.
I'd say that we're still pretty 50-50 on this from the fire department side of things. Well, yes, I do see the benefits of possibly getting more revenue to offset the cost, the increasing cost. It is a change of how we've always done things. I do like to be able to go to professional development conferences and talk to other, chiefs and places and say, "Oh no, we don't bill. We don't have to worry about that." And the reactions we get is pretty impressive actually. They're surprised, but also like, "Oh wow, that's really cool that you guys still do that." Um, and so yeah, not really ready at this time, but I do want to
Okay.
make sure that we're hearing from all the concerned parties. And I don't feel like I've got uh all the sides so far from all the different kind of user groups in town. So I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And so, if we can come up, if I get a feeling one way more or the other, then I can come have something for you guys at a different time, but I'm just not ready to make that call right now.
Okay, that's fair, and I did put you on the spot, so, but it's important, I mean, it would be obviously your department that would be implementing this for the most part, so, and having to explain it, so I appreciate your thoughts.
Yep.
Any other questions for Brian?
If it were going to be on the town warrant, it would have to be decided at the next select board meeting?
Yeah, I think so, if we were going to move forward with, our town attorney, did this, yeah, go ahead.
So one of the options that when we were talking with
Right.
Kristen Collins put together a sample ordinance because you can't bill without having an accompanying ordinance. One option that does exist as well was we could have what's called an advisory vote at town meeting if the article was clearly written that it was advisory, non-binding, where you could kind of get where the town's stand is. If we were to do that again, it wouldn't be a binding vote. It wouldn't adopt an ordinance. You'd still need to do that later, either at a special town meeting or at the next annual town meeting. So that is something that is out there. I'm not at a spot where I'd say to make a recommendation either. I'd really defer to the fire chief, but I would say that this year we definitely could have a vehicle to have a discussion at town meeting and see where folks' thoughts are on that. For what that's worth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
And if we were to go that route, one could argue that find out where the town is, work with a billing company or billing companies to refine and have an ordinance that really fits Georgetown's needs and the attorney. And if we were to have, say, a special town meeting in the fall, that would give us time to potentially have a kickoff for the new calendar year, which is half a fiscal year.
right,
So again, there were just timeline bits, but you are right, Kathy, that this town meeting's dance card is rapidly filling up, and if this is gonna have a date to the dance, we gotta figure out what avenue.
and a couple of meetings ago, we said we're not gonna jam anything through. That is a major change for this town, and so I'm mindful of that as I hear Brian talk, as I saw the comments and heard the comments, so far that we've heard, and, obviously there's plus on the revenue side, but it can't, as much as we wanna be fiscally responsible, we also have to be mindful of where the community's at on this issue, so those are things that I'm just thinking about.
And I would note, not to interrupt rudely, the ordinance that Kristen put together,
Right.
was included in the packet for the community. It was shared with the board, but I would say that I put a watermark on the public copy to make clear that this is an example only. It's not anywhere near ready for prime time.
Right,
Have you
right,
received any comments yet on that?
No.
yeah. So obviously, we're looking for the community's feedback. That's a draft, proposed ordinance, and it was drafted by the town's attorney. Knowing that, knowing our unique situation. Or hearing from Tyler about our unique situation. So-
I will say that portion of the website where the packet's posted is not viewed by many, so it doesn't surprise me that with it posted, the packet today, that we haven't heard much from folks yet.
Right,
But us talking about it now, I know they're gonna be eagle eyes diving in.
yeah, well, that's
Good.
the reason to talk
Probably
about.
doing it right now.
Great.
Yeah, I would really support something like that advisory vote on the warrant for this year. I think that would be a really good idea. Get a better feeling or a more town oriented kind of one way or the other. So
Right.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't feel so, so rushed.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's getting in front of everybody's eyes at town
Right.
meeting. Whether they've read through it or not, at least at town meeting, they'll have the chance to.
Right. Because there's only been the one meeting. I mean, even though, Brian, I know you covered it at your open house two falls ago. It wasn't billed as that kind of a, right? It didn't receive top billing. It was something that Tim raised near the end of that meeting, and that was 2 years ago. So
Mhm.
it only received top billing last week or the 17th so.
Yeah.
I think it's important to keep all that in mind.
I agree. Who's gonna draft the,
Advisory article,
Mhm.
that would be Kristen, our town attorney.
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
We'll take a stab at a draft and Kristen does a rewrite during her review usually.
yeah, if that's what we decide tonight, we will need to make a decision tonight or on May 12th, but that's why I put Brian on the spot. So I just wanted to get a feel based on, what we know at this point. Especially since the community night, which has only been about 10 days ago.
With very little feedback. I mean,
from that
yeah,
event.
so far.
yeah, so far, so maybe
And I
we'll
will,
hear more
and I
after
will
tonight.
note that we have seen a bit of a drop off on some of the YouTubes. Some of them were going viral. And this one has not gone viral yet, just for what that's worth.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, Brian.
Sure.
Oh, and one last thing, I'm sorry, before we let you go, I had asked you if you, I know that you have the new analytics program that you're using as of January, and so if it's easy enough to do, we'd love to have maybe quarterly reports that you could generate with some data points. But we can certainly talk
Yeah.
about it or whatever you think is, one of the things that is helpful to me and on the budget side of things is to have some of that data, when are the most calls occurring? We talked a little bit about this when you and I talked, Brian, but so I think those the points that we would need to know as municipal officers that are coming out of the fire department, I would appreciate if it's not too much trouble for you to get
Nope.
those to us. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll look into it. This is a new program that is run actually at the federal level.
Right.
And so all of our data, run report data gets kicked up through there. It's still a bit of a work in progress. They've had real struggles at the state level to get to integrate with our electronic run reporting system. So the data that was there, I just checked it the other day, and it's still not picking up all of our calls, so, most of them, but not all of them, and I don't know why not. So I say we, all the service chiefs in the state are working with the state agency through the fire marshal's office to get those little kinks worked out so that we have accurate data. And then I'll be able to get you guys something. I'll have to play with it more, investigate it, figure out what we can pull out, what's useful to us, that type thing.
Okay. Great. Thank you. And
Sure.
appreciate it. All right. So are we ready, Echo? Were you gonna say something?
I guess I wanted to ask Brian about the which line was it? It's the payroll, fire and EMS, admin, maintenance, the 3 day a week.
Mhm.
You had suggested pulling from a reserve fund. And would that be the emergency vehicle reserve fund? Or the
Yeah, so either one, honestly, would be a little both. I've been trying to again increase those reserve lines to, have a decent balance set aside for when we need these purchases. But yeah, it would be the capital line for this one. That I primarily because we have also been using the Georgetown Volunteer Fire Department nonprofit side, the fundraising side through the appeal letter, whatnot, to fund most of our capital items that we've needed for a long time now. That's worked out pretty well for the most part. So we can offset that line a little bit through there. So I figured that would be the
Okay.
most appropriate place.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This one? Yeah. I jumped to the budget. I don't know if we're talking budget yet. but
Well, I mean,
That was
while
the
we
one.
have,
yeah, that was the one
while we have,
sticking point.
yeah, if you have a question. And I did ask Ryan, given, what, he indicated at our last meeting, to get some information for us, and I don't know, Brian, that if you're ready to do it now or, at our next meeting, cause I only asked for this yesterday when we talked. Some of the information to help us make the decision between the 2 a day or 3 a day. So if you're ready to kind of address that tonight, Brian, that's fine. If not, I take full responsibility for telling you you've got some time since we only talked about it yesterday.
I have not pulled together any information for that as of right this second, but I can give you my best what I got for the moment, if you want.
Do you all want to do that, now?
Yeah,
Okay.
if Brian's ready, I mean, it could be next meeting too. This part of the budget we could pull out.
It's our intention to try to, approve and move on most of these budgets tonight. So most of these committee budgets.
Yeah, we need to, we need to have this budget posted 10 days before public hearing.
Yeah,
Our
So-
public hearing is the 4th.
that's the 26th.
On our next-
For
Oh,
the
the public
budget
hearing, that's right, the public hearing, sorry, that's the ordinance hearing.
13th?
is the 14th.
Yes,
May
14th.
14th.
yes, so May 4th would be our deadline, so we
And
can't.
realize that this budget
Yeah.
is still fluid. You
Right,
can change it after public
yeah,
hearing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
drop dead after you sign the warrant,
right, exactly,
right?
yeah.
So-
Will you have the information from the county before May 4th?
No,
So,
But that's a place, there's always been a placeholder.
Yeah.
Even, it's unfortunately even had to go to town meeting as a placeholder.
Right.
right.
that's why I've been trying to give her the updated numbers.
Yeah,
Because
it's a legal obligation of the town. We're required to pay it. So
Yeah.
we just say that at town meeting and that's what's committed.
Okay, thank you.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Yeah.
Good question.
I said sometimes we have, sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
But at least we'll have a better number by the time we go to town meeting than we ever have.
We
you know,
will,
so,
and
yeah.
you can see it on, their website and once I get it,
Yeah.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about, Tyler and Katie, is it's the county budget. I
Right.
think that's what we're
The
asking.
9.9.
Yeah, hey, it was
Yeah.
higher. It was a little over it was 10.5 to start with.
Okay,
So after we made, the budget advisory committee made various, suggested changes,
Mhm.
but then it'll be the commissioners that make that decision. So we got it down to 9.9.
great.
And to Mary's point, there will be still time after the public hearing as well,
Right.
where the warrant is the final piece. That's what
Right.
heads off and Citizen Tribuna posts for us around town. Thank you,
Right.
Bob. So we do have some time, but to Mary's point, we'll want to have at least some kind of placeholder number tonight going into a hearing, most
Yep.
likely, so it's
Sure.
there for the community.
Okay.
So we can talk about the 3-day versus 2-day thing next week? Or should we do it tonight?
Well,
Should
our
we
next meeting's the 12th. I guess
Yeah.
it makes sense. If Brian's ready to talk a little bit or some about it, then I think that, and I think he can and should. Go ahead.
Do we want to, I know we've got a couple other items before we get to budget. Do we want to do it now or give Brian a few minutes to?
Yeah, you
Come
wanna
on.
do that, Brian?
I don't want to put Brian completely on the spot, and I recognize we'll be there in a half an hour or less.
I can do it now if you guys want. That's fine.
It's entirely, yeah, okay. So
Yep.
Katie, shaking her head, let's do it.
So in that case, the school, the fire department is
Yeah, it looks like it's page 16.
page 16 of the budget.
Yeah. The
So-
3-day is a 45,864. That's 3 days a week. FAC is recommending 2-day a week at 29,994.
And is that what we have now?
And what we have now is 2-day a week, but 1 day is covered by a grant. So the town is covering about 15,000.
Right, and we no longer will have that grant, so we'd either be
Correct.
covering a day or 2 days, and that's it. That's the decision that has to be made. And which is one of the reasons I was wondering, and because we don't have the data point really yet, is when are these calls occurring? When are the bulk of the calls occurring? And I'm not sure we have that data point. We probably only have it anecdotally, but that's one of the things that Brian maybe can address.
Yeah, actually, so all right, I just pulled up our data screen here, and
Great.
pardon me if I'm trying to flip back and forth between two windows here, but
No, go ahead.
it looks like for calls since January 1st of this year till now, we have had some more calls have occurred on Thursdays and Saturdays. Well, this looks like Sunday is the next closest one. Um, so
Okay.
So it looks like Thursdays are our heavy midweek day, and then it's pretty much split between Monday and Friday are the other higher days. Again, we have a really small data pool to pull from right now, so
Right.
that's what we got right now.
And that's just since January, because that's the only data
Yeah.
pool okay, thank you.
What day is Marty currently here? What days are Marty here?
His days float. So it's Monday through Friday. He's not here on a weekend day, because we have more people at home on the weekends traditionally. I mean, he works a rotating schedule in Bath, so he can't necessarily be here the exact same days every week anyway. So basically, without having good data, pretty much let him pick his days Monday through Friday, what works with his schedule right now. But he's been pretty consistent. He took 1 week off, but he's been here 2 days a week every week since he started. So
Would this be to add another part-time person or to extend his hours?
I would I'd probably give him the option to extend his hours if he wanted them. He's already working 48 hours in Bath and then another 20 hours here in Georgetown typically. So, that's 68 hours for the week. I don't know if he wants to work any more than that. I'd give him the option, but I would still probably like to hire at least one or two others as basically alternates when he wasn't able to be here. If he want to take some vacation, take some time off, or not want to work one more day a week. So that way we'd have some other available people to, keep those slots full if needed. So
And what is the job description for this part-time person and for the additional hours?
So the main task for them is to be they have to be an EMT. So at the bare minimum, they could be advanced EMT or paramedic, but they have to have an EMS license. That's a base requirement. If they also have firefighting certifications, that is yeah, it's not required, but it's highly desired. So that way they can do either role, fire or EMS. Um, and so they're able to respond to any calls that come in during that time, which means that we only have to have one person, just even who's only a driver, be available to respond to the station when there's a call. Um, so like on the days that I'm available and at home or doing admin work, I could be that second person or anybody else for that matter. So that reduces the need for people to be as available for, responding from home. Um, so the kind of the primary role there. And we also have someone who is, like I said, licensed and guaranteed to be able to respond. So if we have Marty on duty, if we had a driver per se, I'm just throwing out an example, we could have MC1 paramedic come down if we needed a paramedic. We didn't have one available in town. That would negate the need for Bath to come down for a call possibly. So pretty much on the days that Marty's here, we would very, very unlikely need to call Bath for anything unless we had a major incident, need multiple ambulances. So respond to calls. And also secondarily, he is at the station and he's doing our ambulance checks, checking all of our logs, checking equipment, keeping up on expiration dates because everything expires. So making sure we have all the right equipment, everything's up to date, everything's where it needs to be, things are clean, things are where they should be, restocked, all those things. Today he washed the ambulances because it was nice out, cleaned out the insides because they needed it. So making sure everything is ship shape where it should be. Um, Doing minor maintenance tasks on equipment, um, minor maintenance on vehicles if needed, replacing light bulbs. He fixed our chainsaw, replaced the whole clutch in the chainsaw last week. Um, was able to do the work, and that's something I didn't have to send out for. So we can save a little bit of money in that way. So that kind of thing. He's out, takes the trucks for a drive around town every week to exercise the vehicles because worst thing you can do for vehicles, let it sit. And due to our call volume, ours sit for quite a while. So those types of things. So he's in the station for coverage, and when he's not on a call, he's out, doing checks and maintenance and any other small tasks. He gets a lot of small things done around this place that would have to farm out otherwise, or sometimes I have to do it, and because it's all stuff that has to be done. So that's kind of the main two purposes for the role. So he's been a great addition to the department. Can ask around the department members, speak very highly of him, works really well with them. So I'll expect that to be able to continue with a third day a week. And again, that just increases our ability to respond in a timely manner with, the appropriately trained personnel.
Thank you.
Sure.
How many times, Brian, if you have this figure, how many times has Bath, I'm assuming it's Bath, had to come down because we didn't this year, because we haven't had somebody, or even
I think we're up
have
to
a little bit further back, go ahead.
I think we're up to 8 or 9 this year. Yeah,
We have
we
12
had.
on-
I know.
Yeah, so we've budgeted. I put in the budget for 12 for this next year coming up. We had 10 for this year, and I think we're going to come close to that. So, like I said, if we don't have anyone available, if we don't have an EMS provider available plus a driver, we can't put an ambulance on the road. And if we don't have, 2 people minimum, including EMS, then we can't call for MC1 because they won't relieve their fly car here in town and take the patient to the hospital there. They have to have a driver for their car to bring it up to the hospital. Um, so yeah, it's we've had to call them down just because we haven't been able to put the right licensed people on the call for at the time. So
Are there times of the week that it is harder to find someone to come out? I recognize there were days like Saturday and Sunday seem to be pretty busy as well after Thursday. Um, do we find that Bath is having to come down more on weekends, or, because I recognize this could help with a need, but it would only be for the 8 hours that person's here on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I just want to make sure that, I recognize that definitely there was an argument there about this increases coverage, but there still were some key areas where this might not stop Bath having to come down 12 times if it's a really nice summer and folks are off the island, doing
Mhm.
stuff. So I just share that is there a time a week that we're seeing Bath more, or is it just too few data points at this stage?
uh, I could I could dig that info up. I don't have it right now. I'd have to, because I am a Bath employee myself. I can go in and find out exactly when Bath has come to Georgetown. I can dig that up. I just don't have it with me right now. I feel like anecdotally, it's kind of all over the place. A bunch of evening calls, if I remember correctly, but also a few during the day.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's this really a time of day that we're struggling to get coverage. It seems to be for our Georgetown folks that either they're available for the day or they're not available for like the whole day. It's kind of hit or miss. So,
How
and we don't
many-
have we don't have the system right now that is set up where, anyone's on duty or whatnot. It's just who's there available at the moment. So, and that's how it's always worked, but it has always worked in the past.
Brian, how many EMTs do you have on your roster?
On the roster, we have 11 EMS providers, which
EMS.
is almost half of our responders, but that is a paper number.
Right.
Right now, available people, out of that 11, I have an EMT who is kind of retired from responding to calls, but he's still on the roster. Still licensed, and that's fine. Um, I've got two personnel who are out of state long term. One of them just a summer resident essentially. So again, on the roster, but goes to very few calls in a year. So, um, another one. We have several of them who are retired and they travel a lot. They're gone for 2, 3 months at a time, and so really kind of effectively only here half the time for the year. So. It looks a little bit better on paper than it is in actuality. A
Right.
couple of other EMS providers like myself, let's see, one, two, three, four of us work full-time fire EMS jobs outside of town. It takes
Okay.
us out for 48 hours at a time. So,
Right. Yep. And then firefighters, how many firefighters?
um, certified firefighters, I think we have one, two, probably close to 10 or 12 also.
Mhm.
A lot of, again, all of us that work outside of town, do fire and EMS combo jobs. We got a few people in town that have the certifications. Um, so yeah, probably about, yeah, 10 to 15 probably certified firefighters.
Okay. And that's also a similar situation where it's on paper. Folks are here
Um,
part.
yeah, that's actually, yeah, I'm trying to think who's the skilled certification. I feel like that the most of the folks who are certified firefighters are a little bit younger, which is great, but they also, every single one of them almost works full time,
Sure.
at some level.
Yeah.
So, not a lot of daytime. We have less daytime availability because I know at least one, two, three, four of them work like a 9 to 5 type job and they just can't up and leave.
Yep.
I know one or two work from home some days a week, but not all the days a week. And, but I don't think they have jobs they can just up and leave. So it's,
Yeah.
just how it is.
That seems to be, at least when I've heard you talk before, that seems to be a real issue. We have these folks rostered, but, and we appreciate their service. But their schedules aren't as, aren't as easily controlled because they still are working. And so that's the day. And I did hear you say Monday and Friday were days that came up for you, in your data points besides Thursday, Saturday, Sunday.
Hmm.
So just trying to, but.
Yeah, I mean, I say Monday, Friday. It's again with the data we have so far, we're talking like 2, 3, 4 calls maybe on each of those days.
So
But
just, it's really, as you can see, we're trying to, drill this
Mm.
down to figure out, if there is a third person, if Marty's there a third day or somebody's there a third day, is that where the need really is during the daytime or is it at night? And it sounds like you probably have more availability on the weekends because those who are working may have more flexibility on the weekends.
yeah, I think that if there's someone's more likely to be available and be at home and able to respond, it's probably going to be on the weekends, um, and or in the evenings. It's but it's also tough to roll into bed at dark 30 and run out and go help people. So
Right.
I think I know. Yeah, I mean, being with the department we are, we have some older folks that I know at least two of them are like, I not really comfortable driving at night, and so that's
That's
fine because they're here when they're here. So yeah, it's hard to nail down. I think that if we had 3 day week coverage, and now with this new data tool that we've got, it'd be much more likely to say, hey, look, we're gonna do you know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as an example, and then um, the rest of us, the non per diem folks, could say, hey, look, we got the per diem guys here these days, so we're going to make an effort to try to make ourselves slightly more available on these other days, just to try to get a little bit more consistency. So again, that would require a bit of a change for us because again, that's not how we've done things typically. But I think we're getting to the point in time where we're going to have to, change the way we've been doing things to make sure that we can continue providing the services when they're needed.
Yeah, okay. Tyler, you were gonna say something?
It's a little bit off in the weeds, but somewhat related. Brian, has there been any thought or planning into the idea of maybe having some folks on call where, say we've got Marty 2 days or 3 days, is there a way we could talk to the folks that, like you, that work full days elsewhere, maybe you take 2 Saturdays a month where that's the day where we've at least got designated folks. I realize that's not specific to this conversation, but I think if there were ways we had to incentivize people to have that, I just worry that if we're putting money in one spot and not some of those other areas, it's kind of early in the, do you see where I'm going though? Are there
Yeah.
incentives that could potentially get someone roused out of bed at 3 a.m, or is that?
I mean, it's of right now without, without putting people on duty kind of, and that's what we're saying is like, you're going to be, say you're available for this day and I can count on you to be there. So if there's a call, I expect you to be there kind of thing. Without having some sort of mechanism for accountability and, and also like, how do we ensure that people are there? We've been kind of doing a little voluntary, let people know when are available thing going on, which, kind of works, kind of doesn't work for us. Just to, so people can see where we have the holes. But again, it's all over. People's schedules are bounce around. My schedule rotates. So my real available days are highly variable. So much. I forget what day of the week it is some days because, either I'm working or I'm not. Saturday,
Right.
Monday, Thursday. So it's definitely an option. I have considered it. But that would again would include a fundamental change in how we operate as a department from historically. And I think it's absolutely something we should look at, and we have talked about internally before, but we haven't been able to come to a consensus necessarily to change that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
helpful, all helpful.
Change is hard.
It is. It
Change
is.
is hard, especially something as complicated as a fire department.
Well, with all the schedules, that's the,
Yeah,
that's the hard part is to make it
the human element.
reconcile all of the
Yep.
needs.
Mhm.
So, like I said, been asking for the third day a week. I think that it is important, and I'm very willing to reevaluate next year and say, look, this was we didn't need this. If we do, great. If we find that it's to our advantage, then I'd like to continue it. But again, I'm open to the possibility that this may not be needed. I do think it's needed right now, because of the system we have set up right now and the way we've been operating. I feel like that having that third person, I say third person, but the third day a week coverage would be to our advantage right now.
And you're saying in order to, and that what you would do is you would reduce the requested budget line on the capital equipment reserve fund of 20, you would reduce that? I just wanna I'm asking.
Yep.
I wanna make
No,
sure I
I'm just
correct.
pulling up my sheet here. Yeah, I think it'd be willing to reduce some of the capital equipment lines to kind of offset those costs and keep the kind of bottom line number either slightly higher or even.
So bringing it down to a $5,000 reserve fund there.
No, he's talking about the emergency vehicle.
Oh, the 75.
Are you talking the emergency vehicle at 75, Brian, or the capital equipment at 20?
We could move either one of those. I think that all money going to capital is all good. That's why it's in there. But I think that if we had to offset those to make this work, I think that'd be a worthwhile change.
Okay.
It's tough. It's tough because we have emergency vehicles coming down the pike that are going to be very expensive.
Yes, we do. That being said, on specifically the emergency vehicles, about 5 years ago, I provided the select board with the emergency vehicle replacement plan with a schedule of what we need to put away, each year to save for the new vehicle at the time we needed it. And that would have had us saving, putting away in the capital probably over $100,000 every year between then and now to get to where we
Yeah.
needed to be. So, understandably, that was like, well, we're not going to do that. But so this it's not like it's an unexpected cost at this time, but it's definitely going to come.
Okay. All right, any more questions for Brian?
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much.
You thought it was gonna be a short
Appreciate
report,
it.
but
Yeah.
we had you, so.
That's all right. I don't mind.
Try to nail this stuff down. Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, jumping back out of the budget, but, makes sense since it's his department and we wanna hear from him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the first item of old business was the ongoing discussion about EMS billing and follow-up from the community night. Was there consensus amongst the board where we'd want to potentially look at an advisory vote, or is that something that?
Yes.
I
I
would
think
prefer
so.
to look at advisory, but I don't think this is ready and, Brian and, Gert Walter, who was very active in presenting the information, haven't looked at it and, we'd be rushing.
Mm-hmm.
But, so in the Goldilocks and the Three Bears way, rushing is not a good idea, but doing nothing isn't either. Having the advisory
Right.
vote is kind of the sweet spot where we can at least take a poll with the town.
I think that's a good idea because I think the town, is gonna have a lot of opinions on it, but they need to have the opportunity to think about it.
Perfect.
So, back to what we all know and what we've been hearing is that we shouldn't be moving this too quickly. I agree on the advisory vote, because I don't think it should be, getting ahead of ourselves, when we're not, when it doesn't appear that, our community's had enough time to vet this through. So,
Yeah, I agree as well. I think that we need to have a really good facts sheet or something so that we really know what we're heading towards if we do adopt an ordinance like this.
and to make sure,
It's hard to know. There's a lot of different moving parts, we have, I think he asked 5 different businesses, the contracting businesses for billing. And he got 5 different answers. And then we're a special case where we would like to bill the insurance companies, but we do not want to bill the person. So that's different for these billing companies to do. So it's a special kind of contract that they're not used to. So we just want to be kind of careful that we're doing it carefully and right.
yeah, I just wanna be deliberate. I don't wanna rush it. I wanna get it right when we do decide one way or the other
Mhm.
to take an action. I want it to be based on community, informed community, support. And I'm just not sure there's been enough education out there or that information provided.
I think there's still a lot of confusion.
I do too.
It
So-
hasn't, well, we just don't know, right? We don't know how much this is going to pull in for our town.
Right.
There's just a lot of unknowns. We don't even know how many calls we get, we roughly know how many calls we get a year, but not
Right.
concretely who's insured, who isn't. Those kinds of, there's a lot of metrics that are just unknown.
And I think we'd have to provide assurances to people that it's, that, their privacy would be protected, just all of these things that might come up for somebody.
And as Kristen said, if we did the advisory vote, it would be very clear that it would be non-binding, but it would give us, again, at least a snapshot of where folks are at. And let's say 70% of the town says, heck no, we love that our chief gets to go to conferences and say, we're the last town in Mid-Coast Maine that doesn't bill. That could be a value statement that the town gives us information we don't have now, so. I will work with Kristen on getting some good language that will incorporate in the warrant and go from there on that front.
Do you want a motion on that?
If you guys want to give me some direction, that'd be helpful.
Well, I would just move that, we asked Tyler to work with our town council to develop a motion to,
A warrant article, an advisory warrant article?
advisory warrant. To ask if the town would like to pursue this. Is that correct?
That works.
Okay.
It's good direction.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
All right.
When it came to memorandums of understanding, there's no action here tonight. I would note that the school and town conversation will be happening. The tri-party bit between the Recreation Committee, Conservation, and TOPMB continues to be discussed. There were some changes from the Recreation Committee that I believe have now gone on to TOPMB that they wanted to make a minor tweak to potentially or live with, so more to come there. Conservation and Community Center have an MOU. I'd also note the Conservation and School have one I didn't include on the list. So just on memorandums of understanding, comprehensive plan check-in, we're not quite there yet, but thank you for all the work you've done there, Ari. It'll make it easier for us.
Yeah, just a reminder that we're just checking in on what we said we were gonna have as goals in 2021 when it got adopted, by the state or approved by the state. We adopted it obviously at town meeting a few years earlier. So we need to get back to that. And we'll do that. Well, at this point, we have too much ahead of us, but we will, do that, after town meeting, I imagine is a more realistic goal, perhaps right before. Ordinances.
Ordinances, so we have gotten back from legal, the working waterfront work groups. Draft working waterfront ordinance that was in your packet and in the packet online. I did include in the packet online Kristen's edits, just so if the community had wanted to offer public comment, they would have been able to. There are a host of changes in here. I think one of the first ones that Kristen really suggests is changing the name of the ordinance from working waterfront ordinance to an ordinance declaring Georgetown to be a working waterfront community. She does add some good language in there about severability, takes away some redundancies and some of the declaration of the waterfront status, which previously had been noted as purpose. Did some good rewrites under a section about notification to residents and businesses, applicability and so on. I'd say tonight, the board, if they want this ordinance to move forward, should probably make a decision on whether or not to accept legal counsel's changes, or if there are any that need to be discussed, we go ahead and do that and ultimately send it on to a hearing. I would note that we have heard from some community members who do feel that a proclamation or a resolution might be more appropriate. I can say either of those are things the town office could craft pretty quickly, but the working waterfront work group had wanted an ordinance and felt pretty confident. We did not solicit their feedback on the changes. This ordinance became the possession of the select board after that group was done with their work. So just for the background there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, after the community night, at least I heard feedback that people were supportive of an ordinance. Now, whether or not after town meeting, the votes are there, I don't know. You know, you could support either version, a proclamation or an ordinance with different arguments for both. I will say that, I definitely think that we need to accept, our lawyers' revisions. This is her expertise, and this is so, there's no reason to disregard what she is advising us as a board to do here. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine with being after you. I would go with this ordinance, but I do wonder why it's not a declaration. It would get much greater exposure. It could be, put on the wall here and down at the town wharf as a declaration. I don't think you would put an ordinance up. So it just seems to me the public perception would be much stronger if it was a declaration rather than an ordinance. On the other hand, I think it's a good thing to do, and I would go along with whatever it's saying.
I feel the same way. I think you could go either way. It's a great ordinance. I think that it did the job, and there are, postings and things like that worked in here. So the town will feel this in the town.
I'm afraid it's gonna get lost in the list of ordinances
On our
online, and you know, it'll be on the sign because that's part of the ordinance. So it'll be
Yeah.
on the welcome sign, it'll be on the town website, but it's not going to be in the public eye. As it would if it were decoration.
Hmm.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
We could always, after town meeting, do a resolution as well to codify, you know, that we have declared this.
If it passes at town meeting,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
So
that
I
too.
think we've got to decide, does it go on the warrant? This is what, right?
Right.
Isn't that what? you
Well, I
need from
think,
us
I think
tonight?
what we need tonight is a motion to accept legal counsel's changes, which I think consensus is clearly there.
I'd move that.
And in that same motion, you could also say and send it on to the public hearing. And we're done. I'll get a updated draft onto the website tomorrow.
Would you want to check with the working group to make sure that they don't have any huge problem with any of the changes that she? And it would be a shame if they had to vote against their own ordinance.
I would say that the work group was set up with a specific task to get this ordinance to us, and after that, those work group members all go back to their various committees of which they represented. I don't think we need to take that extra step, something we could do, but I don't think it's necessary.
I didn't see that there were any major changes from the town's attorney on the intent of what they drafted. So,
A lot, the real estate
yeah,
part was scratched, but I think that it was then put into the.
right, it's moved to a different part. So I can't speak for them, but I certainly went to most of their meetings and I don't think that, from my perspective, what she's advised for changes, still comports with the spirit of what they were trying to accomplish, at least from my observation.
I agree.
She's tightened it up a lot, which I
Yes.
think is good.
That's her job.
And change the name.
And
Yes, but it was written as a proclamation or declaration. I mean, it reads like
It
one.
does read like.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
and she's tightened it up.
right. I think they knew that. I mean, they knew it was gonna go to our attorney.
Yeah.
So,
So
All
it was
good things.
approved by Aria to incorporate the edits, I believe, and send it to a public hearing.
I would second that.
okay, yes, sure.
I just wanted to make sure I was.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I had definitely moved that we accept our, town attorney's revisions, but, I agree that this could go either way, and I think that it is, there's been no, huge indicators one way or the other from what we've seen, and after that community night, that one should go down over the other. So I say we go ahead and put it on the warrant. Are you
Second.
So
both
we are- I
comfortable
think-
with that?
Yeah, I think,
I'm to the public hearing and then,
Yeah, so,
sorry, to the public
but I
hearing.
think we have to vote. It's just a motion.
We do,
It was
yeah.
seconded,
Yep.
okay.
And Kathy is enthusiastically in favor.
Thank you,
That was
Kathy.
3-0. Perfect.
No, I just lost track of where we were.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
And again, I will incorporate those edits tomorrow. The bane
Yes.
of my existence is tracking in Word documents, but it will be fun.
I love track changes. I'm
was like
surprised by
a-
that, Tyler.
It
'cause you're-
stresses me out.
It stresses you out. Oh, okay, well,
Mary hears some of my favorite words that I will not repeat on Zoom.
oh goodness,
Well,
okay.
this one, it had like a dark pink and a light, or a dark red and a light red. Did you notice there was
Yeah.
a little?
Well, maybe just the, yeah,
Okay.
What did it
Okay.
mean?
all right,
That's a rabbit hole.
And-
okay.
And
That's,
we have Bob here to speak to,
okay, the building and demo, we're on building and that demo, and let's pull up that proposed ordinance. So as Kathy mentioned, well, both of y'all mentioned, there was a meeting, around what was maybe the 16th, and then there was another meeting with, the planning board and our attorney on the 20th.
Right,
Um,
15th and 20th.
The 15th and 20th. So this version, for those who are following along, has the 4/20 date on it.
Yes.
So that's what I'm gonna pull up. All right, and so,
Mr. Trebona. Come on down to the table. You'll be still so far away.
yeah, come on down, please, Bob. And so what we're focused on are the red lines, which would be the proposed amendments for this town meeting. The red lettering. and the red additions, and then there are some red lines as well. So,
If I may,
yeah, go ahead.
what you have before you is the compilation of lawyers' comments and planning board input. You know, the planning board came up with the initial draft. And we kicked that around and discussed many different things and put our input in. And then it was given to the town lawyer.
Okay.
She had her say on it. We took that back, we sat and met with her twice and combined the two. So what you have is a compilation of both. When we were finished, everybody was in agreement with what was presented at 420. Since then, I've had some feedback from a couple of the people on the planning board about one particular item in there. And when we get to that, I'll point it out to you, unless you have already looked at that and said, I got a question about that.
Bob, the red is the lawyer and the black is the planning board's edits? No,
No.
it's just
it's
all mixed
it's
up.
all red.
It's all
It's all
red.
red.
Okay,
It's both the planning board and the legal input.
yeah,
And we did that, I did that purposely because if we were, at that time, we were in agreement on all of it.
okay.
Is this the version, has the, attorney seen this? In other words, there were no changes after she went offline? You understand?
We have not met with her since we had
Right, but
the meeting where,
when you put when you combine the two, her changes and the changes that you had agreed to with her in the two meetings,
Mhm.
were there any changes after that that she hasn't seen? In other words, do we have
No.
to send this to her again?
no, I mean, if there was a change, it was unintentional.
But to Bob's point, there have been since then some possible suggested changes that planning
But
board
we have not
members.
done anything.
That's what that was.
And we don't have those in writing, but you'll speak to them.
I will.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe one of the things, that, can happen and actually it happened with the working waterfront, let's use that as an example. What's the purpose of, people ask, what's the purpose of this ordinance that the working waterfront put together? So if someone were to ask you, Bob, and it may come up, I don't know, at the public hearing, on any of these proposed ordinances or changes to how we're doing things in town. What are the purpose of these changes? Like the first one's on number 3A, secondary dwelling unit, and these. So tell us about the purpose, please, or the intent behind the proposed changes to this ordinance.
The overwhelming majority of the changes that were made were as a result of legislation.
Okay,
And the purpose of legislation in the last 2 to 3 years has been primarily to change the rules and regulations to accommodate affordable housing.
LD 1829, is that what we're talking about?
Well, it started out with 2003.
2003 and then
Yeah.
last year 1829,
And there was another one after that.
right? Yeah. That's a little history on the need to change the ordinance
Yes.
to become current with
Right.
current
Yeah, I
legislation,
thought that was the question that was asked.
the purpose.
Yeah.
Secondary dwelling unit, though, is not,
Secondary dwelling unit is a term that we came up with based on the changes in the legislation. Because it said that you basically, they defined the principal structure or primary dwelling unit. They defined, an ADU. They defined tiny homes. But they also came up with, based on what they wrote, another dwelling unit that was not the principal structure or the primary dwelling unit. It was.
but not an ADU. You needed a different,
Not an
you
ADU.
needed it
An
separate from
ADU, an ADU was very specific about
size.
the minimum size that it could be. and the town capped it at 850 square feet.
Right,
And, the state said it had to be at least 150 square feet.
right,
Okay, so basically this would be could be a mother-in-law apartment that was more than 850 square feet,
right,
or however you want to term it.
right.
So basically Georgetown invented secondary dwelling unit,
To
SDU.
try to avoid a second primary structure, because you
Because
didn't
you
want
only
two
have one
primaries.
Structure,
Right, so now there's this tier of
and
building.
you know, I think this is something that's gonna be, continuing as we go down the road. What's a yurt? What's the classification for a yurt? It
Right.
doesn't fit into, it doesn't necessarily fit into a primary dwelling unit unless it's the only one there.
And you're
Right.
saying a yurt,
Yeah,
am I hearing you? Okay?
yes. I mean, that was one of the questions somebody had,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where does a yurt fit into all of this? Is it a primary or secondary dwelling unit? And it depends upon where it's at.
And so because of this new definition, a secondary dwelling unit, now Georgetown needs to include it as well as define it,
Mhm.
because the state. Yeah, so now we're defining secondary as well as ADUs.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the why within this ordinance. Right?
That's one of the things that got changed as a result of legislation, yes.
And prior to the legislation, you would not have allowed an SDU to be built?
No, we just didn't, it wasn't defined.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't even a structure that, yeah, you had as an option.
We didn't. It would not be prevented. If you wanted to build a second dwelling unit,
Mm-hmm.
you could.
Mhm.
That came with 2002, okay?
Mhm.
Before that, if you wanted to have a second structure, dwelling unit, whatever you wanna call it,
Mhm.
on the property, we had 2 acre minimum lot size.
Yeah.
If you wanted to put a second unit on there, then you needed to have an additional 3/4 of an acre per bedroom
Right,
in order to do that.
right. Yeah. Got it.
There's my.
All right, so take us then, please, through the highlights, Bob, and then, one of the, yeah, we'll just take it through the highlights, and then as questions arise from us, we'll ask them, please, thanks.
Okay, on page 1, we added the term secondary dwelling unit.
Yeah.
On the start of the paragraph 3, planning board permit is required for. And it's subparagraph A.
Yeah.
3A.
Mhm.
I don't think that needs any explanation. On page 3, paragraph 8, omit duration. This is just a grammatical change. We eliminated the term and, it was supposed to have been eliminated a year or 2 years ago, it was not.
Yeah.
Picked up on that. Then we get to
9A, it looks like.
paragraph 9A. An application to add an SDU, secondary dwelling unit, or an ADU, additional dwelling unit, or a tiny home to an already developed a lot of multiple dwellings to an undeveloped lot must provide verification that each added unit has access to potable water and an adequate septic system.
Verification to who and where? To the CEO, to town office?
To the CEO.
Okay. You may
And
wanna,
Whose black crosses are those? Is that you?
Nope, that's town.
That's town, okay.
Well, it's the town, but some of it was crossed out in black after consultation with the lawyer.
okay,
And we had verbiage there talking about adequate water and adequate septic, and as it turned out, people couldn't really comply with that because even if you had a hydrologist, they would not be able to specifically guarantee, if you will.
Right,
So
right.
we backed off on that to allow people to build.
Mhm.
And then we have structure setback requirements. All newly constructed, placed, relocated, or extended principal structures, SDUs, ADUs, tiny homes, and accessory structures shall meet the following minimum setbacks, and the setbacks have not changed.
Mhm.
It just was defined, further defined where they apply.
Mhm.
Accessory dwelling unit. So paragraph one ADU shall be permitted per parcel that has an existing single family or two-family dwelling unit and may be located within the principal structure, attached to an existing structure, or as an additional detached dwelling unit. And by that we mean, so if you wanted to, if you have a basement, you wanted to make that a mother-in-law apartment. Or it, you know, today's terminology, it would be an ADU.
Mhm.
You could do that if you wanted to put an addition onto your existing home and make that an ADU, you could do that.
Mhm.
Or if you had an accessory dwelling, you could attach it to an accessory dwelling and make it an ADU, say a garage. Do a little garage or an addition onto a garage, things like that.
Mhm.
Or it could be an independent building standing by itself.
Right.
An ADU, I said earlier, 150th, an ADU must be at least 190 square feet, which is a state minimum. And we added, and it had been in there before, 850 square feet for a maximum. ADU must meet all lot coverage area setback requirements. It may be built on a non-conforming lot of record. So if you have a lot of record that's less than 2 acres, you can still build on it.
And that came from legislation, right?
Maximum height limitation for structures, in the note. An affordable housing development may, and this is again legislature. An affordable housing development may exceed the 35-foot height limit for restriction by no more than 14 feet except in a shoreline zone. Subject to review by a municipal fire chief or designated, the town can provide adequate fire response to the building. No exception to height restriction is allowed in a shoreline zone. And the shoreline zone has several exemptions as you go through this thing, because that's again what the state legislature says is the shoreline zone is separate from 2003 and the other ones.
1829.
Bob, right before that, right before maximum height, we didn't cover the all permits shall be issued with the condition that they may not be rented. So there's some changes, it looks like there that y'all proposed.
Prior to this, yes, thank you for that. Prior to this, we had said it was part of the short-term rental work that we did. Before that, when we initially started that, we had defined short-term rentals as 90 days as opposed to 30 days. And part of the work we did, it showed that the overall overwhelming standard in the state with multiple towns was 30 days, when we revised it to 30 days. I apologize for that. Sometimes familiarity breeds.
That's okay, I'm
So-
sure somebody's gonna ask about it for the very reason you just raised.
But to be clear, Bob, previously it had been 90 days and the planning board was moving in a less restrictive direction on this.
Yes.
Okay, that's just an important thing to clarify too, so thank you.
Okay. And going back to the note, the comment in there about the municipal fire chief or designated town can provide adequate fire response to the building. The legislation it said it could be, you know, their initial input on this was that the requirement was either an additional story or 14 feet. And then they put a maximum on it of 55 feet in height. Not to exceed 55 feet. The equipment that we have, we don't have ladders. You know, a ladder truck.
Right.
And if you're gonna have something that's in excess of 40, 45 feet, 50, you really need a ladder truck in order to do something like that. So before we're gonna allow someone to exceed the 35-foot height limit, we would want to have consultation from the fire chief or the equivalent to take a look at this and make sure that we can provide proper safety for the people of the town. We don't want somebody to inadvertently build a building that's so large
Death
that
trap.
we can't
Right.
Save them.
save them.
And that looks like we're,
9
Next
feet.
one is on page 6 under non-conforming structures. For reconstruction or replacement. The verbiage was added, reconstruction of a non-conforming structure shall not be permitted if the structure has been abandoned for more than 18 months as of the date of application. It's basically spelling out grandfathering, if you will, without using that term.
dropping down to, I think we're next on page 8.
Right. This is where we added the verbiage defining secondary dwelling units. Now, this is where we get to the point where there was, in retrospect, some, I'm not gonna say disagreement, but some people were a little bit concerned about, that in subparagraph 2, the second sentence. Outside the designated growth area, the lot area of the lot on which the SDUs be located shall be at least 2 acres for each dwelling unit other than an accessory dwelling unit. In some ways, that's a kickback almost to the, if you want to put a second unit, a second building there, 3/4 of an acre per bedroom. This is not quite as onerous, but some people may consider it somewhat onerous, you know. Oh my God, I've got like 2 acres, so now if I want to put a secondary dwelling unit on my property, instead of 2 acres, I've got to have a 4 acre, at least 4 acres, so. And that was the one where a couple of people stepped back afterwards and said, you know, I kind of have some hesitation on it.
So there may be some, at the public hearing, there may be some feedback on that.
Yeah.
If not before, yeah. Maybe even tonight as people are following along, we'll see.
What was the alternate wording suggested? Did anyone have anything?
Before that, we didn't have anything like that.
Kristen
recommended this.
Okay.
I remember it. Yeah,
Mhm.
So this is a definition that came from her? Or just that part of it?
at that part, outside the designated growth area, the lot area of the lot on which the SDUs be located shall be at least 2 acres for each dwelling unit other than an accessory dwelling unit.
So she advised that it should be 2 acres?
I could explain this a little bit more if you want.
Yeah,
So.
Please come up, Rufus, I'm sorry, I didn't even,
I think, yeah, we'll take one.
okay, well, I can't hear him. Great.
It's a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
This is our lawyer.
No, I'm not.
What do you think?
He said this is
Yeah.
not our lawyer, I'm
Yeah.
not his lawyer. The intent here was to align SDUs with ADUs and tiny homes. And, to say that if the town is mandated to, increase density for housing purposes, it would, contrary to that purpose, to allow those to be used, for vacation. The legislation that was the origin was to implement the recommendation of a commission to increase housing, to not increase short-term rentals. So the idea was to say, okay, well, if we're gonna say the ordinance already says for ADUs, no short-term rentals. It already says for tiny homes, no ADUs, aligning it with that purpose. So now we come with STUs. It's more complicated because STUs could have been used to some degree before this housing legislation. And that's where we had problems because the original version of this just said no short-term rentals on STUs. That's all it said. I mean, that's what was sent to the original amendment. Just banned STUs from being used as short-term rentals.
That was what y'all had proposed originally, and you
Yeah.
sent that to the town attorney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much the ADU language, copy
Yeah.
and pasted
Yeah,
with
I did.
SDU in
Yeah.
there.
And
Okay.
that came, but then the problem came because of the difference between the STUs and the other two entities, dwelling units. Because if you just ban short-term rentals for all STUs, you would be going beyond what the intent was, which was if we're increasing density from the housing, we shouldn't do STUs. There needs to be a separation between the STUs that were allowed before the housing legislation, which should not be limited for short-term rentals, and those STUs that were imposed on us for housing purposes, which should be. In order to make that distinction, council came with this language here, outside the designated growth area. We needed a foundation, a point of reference before we could separate the STUs that could be and couldn't be. But then some members, and the lawyer said, well, here's the language, so, mull it over. Well, we mulled it over, but we never had another meeting. And some of us said, well, wait a minute, this is, by putting this foundation in here, that's a pretty big policy change.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been highlighted anywhere. So maybe we ought to wait and do it another year. So that's where the problem is. I think this is fine language. I would like to see it done, but I don't think. I think this would separate it and it is a workable standard and council formulated it for us. But the problem with it is it's a big change. If we're gonna go back to the old, 2 acres for one dwelling. So the thought was maybe take that out and do it another year.
So take out all of 2.
No.
Just the second sentence outside.
I'm wanting to just confirm. Anybody who's listening in.
Thought I was bad, yeah. No, I would just take that one sentence,
Outside the
Yeah.
designated growth area.
and
It's confusing,
also,
to people, I think.
the last, all permits, so if we wanted to wait till another year, we would take out the sentence outside the designated. You take that out, and then you take the last sentence, so that all permits, you take that all together, so there'd be no limits
On SDU.
on STUs this year, and then the planning board could look at it, to see whether. When I came on the planning board, I couldn't understand this ordinance at all, because it didn't have any limit of dwellings. It said it's 2 acres, but it didn't say what you do with 2 acres. So when I asked, well, what can you put on 2 acres? And they said, well, you have to hire a scientist to tell you that. Whereas before it was pretty simple. And Kristen said that most other towns have it the way she's recommending it. 1 lot, one principal dwelling in an ADU, and then you can, deal with these STUs separately, but she said, that's a policy decision, and so she said that this wasn't, when she wrote this, she was recognizing that it was policy in there, not just legal.
Right, right.
You came up with a happy medium, a sentence that, you emailed the group about the all permits for SDUs that would not have been allowed under ordinances effect prior to the enactment of legislation.
Yeah,
That language,
yeah.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that language.
Yeah,
And I was arguing for it,
yeah.
but.
It was kind
What
of
happened?
doing both things.
Yeah, I know, and, that's right. I mean, but I'm just maybe a voice in the wilderness, so that's what I liked.
Well, what it's saying is
What
that,
happened to the language? I'm sorry.
The way it got eclipsed.
Okay.
well, it was just it was a busy time. I think that what Rufus has suggested is that the SDUs that are allowed only because they're mandated
Right.
should not be used as an STR.
Right.
But the SDUs that would have been allowed, had they had met requirements.
Right.
Yeah, and
Should still
I frankly,
be allowed.
I didn't recognize this issue, actually, until I talked to Lauren. And he was explaining his situation, and all of a sudden it came to me that, he says, I have all this acreage. And I have like multiple acres, and I don't wanna be prevented from expanding my business. And I said, well, that wasn't the intent here, but then I started thinking about it, and I'm saying, well, there's a problem here.
It's maybe an unintended consequence.
It's right, it was too broad, the way the first version said, no short-term rentals on any STUs. That was on the assumption that all STUs were newly
Right.
imposed.
Right.
But when I realized that it wasn't newly imposed, that there were some that were permitted before and some that were increased, then I realized it was a problem. And then, so this came near the end, and Kristen was on vacation, and she left us, and then we started thinking about it, and so I don't know where we go with this, and we could go back to the planning board and talk about it more and come back, or we could just send us on. I don't know. I just wanted to give you the background.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's helpful to have a background. I think it's especially helpful because the sentences are not as clear as, people may want them to be as they're trying to understand them going into a public hearing and then, of course, a town meeting to vote on it. It's clear that y'all want people to understand the work that you were trying to do here, so I appreciate that. All right, do we have any more questions on this ordinance or anything more, Bob, you want to cover on the rest of it? Which looks like it's on page 11 or the next side.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah,
Just added the verbiage of a multi-unit residential structure. Just like the clarity.
yeah,
And
Thanks, Rufus.
Then under accessory structure, the word dormitory was included because it's a possibility there might be a school on the island. A private school, basically.
Mhm.
And then there was the definition of dormitory because it was included earlier. And clarification on principal structure. The verbiage that had been there before is structure other than one that is used for purposes wholly incidental or accessory to the use of another structural use on the same lot. Didn't make any sense to anybody. There was a clearer definition available in state rules and regulations, and we elected to use that rather than the verbiage that had been there. And then definition of secondary dwelling unit.
there's a extra period on just at the end of that sentence, but we can
Yeah.
take that off. Okay, all right. Thank you, Bob and Rufus. Any questions that we have?
No.
Just what do we want to do about the question about definition of secondary dwelling?
I think there's 3 ways to approach it. We leave it as is and cross our fingers, or I don't, this is how Kristen recommended it. But we also know what kind of sentiment the town has and about this sort of regulation. So we leave it as is and cross our fingers or whatever. We could do what Rufus suggests and take out the second sentence in number 2 and the sentence at the end. I could read out to you the sentence that Rufus suggested that's kind of a middle ground, where those SDUs that are mandated by law aren't able to be used as STRs, but anything that prior to the legislation would have been able to be rented as an STR.
Is that confusing?
It's a little confusing. You would need to really know the history behind it and the nitty gritty.
You know, we're just talking about making sure our community understands what this means.
Yeah,
And we're asking them to vote on it,
right.
so.
Had Kristen been apprised of that language at all?
I don't think so.
And the
The
reason,
Rufus amendment,
the reason I'm asking is I imagine there could be some tweaks to that language when it goes to her. Thank you for coming back.
Yes, but you had included her.
Yeah, I did,
So the answer to your question is yes.
let me tell, this is not as complicated.
I missed what you said, Bob, so yes, Rufus,
Yeah, she was surprised to them.
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, okay, the answer was yes, but, I think the problem, if I could think of, Kristen, was that the foundation wasn't clear. So if, with my language, you're comparing what you, can do before and now, but in comparison to what? What is the foundation?
yeah,
Yeah,
And if the foundation goes back to the way the ordinance was before the housing legislation, one lot, that'll be easy. So that's why she's put that in there.
right,
But without that language it's hard to, with my middle language that is from my email. The problem with that, is it didn't have a foundation, so how do you distinguish between those units that it can be used before anyway, and which are mandated now? What do you compare it against? And
Yeah.
our, I think we need to change or address whether we go back to an earlier version of what a 2 acre minimum lot size means, before we can separate that out. So that's the problem. You could put it in there and it might work, but I think the problem was lack of clarity.
what's the downside of taking this in steps and removing the outside sentence and that, and the other sentence, all permits?
I think
And-
the downside is that anything that's the box is checked on an application that the building is an SDU, that the planning board intends to allow those because they're forced to. And if it's taken advantage of, then it's just an STR machine.
That's not entirely correct.
No?
The legislature
Right.
redefined something, but we were allowing second dwelling units on properties before that.
Right. Yes.
So then,
But there's these 2 classifications of SDUs that are happening now, right? It's an SDU that could have been built prior to the legislation and an SDU that can only be built because of this new legislation. So these new SDUs shouldn't be used as an STR because that's not the intention, right? That's the goal here.
You're absolutely right, but here's the practical answer that one board member gave me. Yes, you're right, and we should probably fix this, but but delaying in a year to do it is not gonna be too risky, because it's pretty darn expensive to build
It is.
an SDU, and I don't think we've even had one or maybe we had one, but it's unlikely there's gonna be a lot of people taking advantage of this within
Right.
the period that we can take to think about it more. So,
Well, I'm in favor of just keeping it simple
Mhm.
and getting it right and making sure that the community understands it and supports it before we ask them.
I just wanna make sure that when we come back to this next year, I mean, it should be on our agenda for next year. I mean, this needs to be addressed, but I don't think the timing was such that I didn't think we had enough time to highlight the risks, of a policy change, and people are gonna say, we didn't know about this, you're changing, you're making a big change and we didn't know about it.
Right,
And I think that's the danger.
right. I mean, we're,
So that
Yeah.
seems to be the modus operandi here.
Legislation does it all the time.
I know, the legislature forces this.
Something through who.
It's hard, this legislation stuff is hard.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
because, I mean, we had a bill that was just enacted 2 weeks ago on the subject.
so,
This bill, LD 1829, we have until 2027 to get it right within our own ordinances.
that's an important point.
It is.
Thank you.
So we do have a little time to enact it.
Kathy, you were gonna say something?
No, I'm,
Okay.
I'm,
You ready to take an action?
I think we do need to take an action.
Yeah.
yes. But I'm not quite sure how to
Well,
phrase it.
what about the idea, I don't even know if it was Bob's or Rufus's, to move it, what about moving it forward to a public hearing? Without the outside sentence, part 2, and, uh, also the all permit sentence. Tyler, go ahead.
Do we wanna do it in a couple of motions versus
Yes.
just trying to do one? Maybe
Yeah, I'm
we
just
accept
talking.
all of these,
Yeah.
and then we can do a secondary amendment to those pieces, and then send it as amended to public hearings. It'd be 3 motions, but instead of trying to combine them all, that might make it a little bit
Yeah.
clearer.
Yeah,
Are there other places in the ordinance that,
and that's
Align with
just
this.
one way that I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the way.
I think that is the way.
And we could do one really complicated motion if we wanted to. That is a way too.
I don't look
Convoluted.
What'd you say?
I said convoluted.
Yeah, we're not-
Time.
It's 9 o'clock. I don't think anyone's looking for us to,
Yeah.
9:10 to be complicated, but I appreciate
So
it.
is there a motion to
Yeah.
incorporate all of the red lines, or, and then afterwards we can amend the document and then the final product gets shipped out?
Mhm.
Cause I think to Kathy's point, were there any other changes in here we wanted to
Right.
make, which would then be a part of that amendment?
just because when you take this out, there might be other parts of this that don't make sense or.
No,
Or it makes
those are
itself clear.
standalone.
Okay, so that we can just, we don't have to do that.
I'd like to, you know what, I'd like to have some, a little bit more, time on this. I'd like to table this until May 12th. Is that a problem?
That is the very last day, but we can make it work. I would say we'd have 2 more days if we wanted a special meeting, but we
No.
have a 10-day notice, so
Yeah,
the 12th would be the last, but then we can get it right.
unless y'all are prepared to go forward tonight. You should feel free to say that if you are.
I think I would be because I don't know what an extra 2 weeks, it would give more opportunity for public comment. If we need to give from the public, but I think that
It would,
you've made a good argument,
okay.
but that's just me, someone else.
Yeah, I feel like we could decide tonight, but Aria, if you wanna table it
No,
and we can revisit in a
We
couple
can all bring
weeks,
our
we can do
sleeping
that too.
bags.
no, we're good.
I think that it makes sense to just strike that second sentence.
And
So-
then the last,
And
okay,
then,
so,
then the all permits.
All
And
right.
then that gives us a year to get it buttoned up.
and then, I did have a resident ask for specific explanation. I think, Bob, you've given it. Just finding it here on the 30-day rental
Rather than 90,
rather than 90.
he did answer that.
So I just wanna make, I thought I heard him, but I wanna make sure that that got taped
Mhm.
in case the person is not. online. Okay. There we go. So. You ready to make a motion?
Is it one motion or three?
Why don't we do three?
Yes.
So the first one would probably be to accept the amendment from the attorney and the planning board, then we can make, the board can make its own amendment. And then we can send off the final product to public hearing.
Okay, first of all, we move that we accept this draft as amended. This draft is, amended by the planning board and the, attorney. The second amendment,
I'll
well,
second.
So, and then all in favor? Or,
To send it on to public hearing.
nope,
No,
No, we've
we're
got
at the
the
first motion.
first motion is just taking all the edits, then it's gonna be, the next motion is what
Amending
other
it.
amendments we want, then the final product.
Got it.
the
Go ahead.
second motion, I move that we will, delete the sentence outside the designated growth area from section secondary dwelling units. L, and also the sentence, all permits for STUs to be placed on the lot not moving, which is the final sentence under L.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
All right,
And then I would move that we send it, forward
as a,
as amended to, town meeting.
Public hearing.
Right, so I'll second that.
Public hearing, yeah. That's what I was trying to nail down, public hearing, so that's why I jumped on that, so it's clear that we're sending this on to the public hearing.
Public hearing,
Um,
and I'll second.
No, yeah. I was gonna say, I'm not technically sure these are amendments because they're all drafts, but we're gonna call that just to get through the motion, so.
Mhm.
And that was all second, so we need to vote, all in favor?
all right,
Okay, great. Right, thank you.
Thank you, I'll be with this.
and hey, Bob, we got minimum lot size.
Okay, so you deleted the second sentence. And it said paragraph 2.
Right.
So. And you deleted the last paragraph about
All permits.
STRs. Okay. Okay, minimum lot size. Applicability for paragraph 2.4. An area subject to the shoreline zoning ordinance, the standards set forth in that ordinance shall fulfill more restrictive. And that was a straight quote from Kristen for clarity.
Okay.
And you know what, Bob, we're gonna save you some time here. Is there? Well, this is pretty short. Is there any? So is there any highlight that is significant, in this?
It's just this 3.1.
Yeah, it's just this 3.1.
Mhm.
And if you can just explain the purpose of that in case somebody asks us.
That again was just for clarity because it was involves shoreline zoning and non-shoreline zoning. And differences in what they require. And the specific thing was to include frontage on a pond or lake not covered by the shoreline zoning ordinance shall be at least 100 feet. So if you have a structure house on a pond or lake, it's not tidal. You have to have a minimum of 100 square feet frontage. And then distance. 100 feet distance. Yeah.
And so if somebody already has a structure there, what happens if this
If they've
passes?
already got it, it's grandfathered.
Okay, that's a question we may be asked, okay.
No, again, it's one of those things that, if it currently exists, you can't be made to tear it down. And that's over all of these ordinances. That's not, another example of that is, you have, shoreline property.
Right.
On the ocean, on the bay, whatever. And we've been getting a lot of erosion.
Yeah,
Okay, you're supposed to be more than 75 feet. In order for it to be, buildable lot, if you want to build on it. When you bought the lot, it was 150
Right.
feet to the waterfront. Now it's 75 feet.
Yeah,
So, that doesn't make it a non-buildable lot. That's nature. It's not something you consciously did.
thank you. I know I'm just trying to anticipate the questions that may come up.
No, that's fine.
Great. All right, well, that takes care of,
I mean, some of this stuff is, um. It's my fault because I've lived on the waterfront all my life. My parents have had a piece of property on the waterfront down on Long Island, New York. When they bought it, it was 300 feet from the road, high water mark. And the house was 150 feet over from the back of the house to the high water mark. Today, when the high tide comes in, the water's lapping at the back door of the house. So, yeah, but we're still allowed to live there and nobody can force us to tear it down. It's grandfathered.
yes, yes. Thanks. All right, well, that's
Okay.
good news.
So on the minimum
you.
lot size,
Says, yeah, we're ready to
not that I
go.
want to make any suggestions on a motion, but incorporating the changes and sending it to the hearing would be a great one if anyone
Yeah.
wanted to make it.
I would move that we incorporate the changes and move the draft minimum lot size ordinance to the.
I'll second that. All those in favor? And next one. I think we've done.
Shoreline zoning.
Yeah.
No, just thinking.
But that's a pretty.
Yeah, that is.
There's a lot of pages there, but not very much change.
Right.
Okay,
On page 3, under non-conformance, it just trying to clarify by adding the phrase commonly referred to as grandfather. For the purpose of this section, the effective date of the ordinance is any non-conforming condition lawfully existing prior to the adoption of this ordinance shall, not by reason solely of such adoption, be deemed an unlawful condition. What was added was parent commonly termed grandfather.
Okay, 5.
On the next page, any non-conforming structure which is located less than minimum setback, on the last line of that sentence there, was the length of time was changed from 1 year to 18 months to make it conform with, if you had damage or destroyed by greater than 50%. This is less than 50%. But the length of time that you have to get a building permit is now the same. That's there, you see. And on page 31, under 17 definitions, the term abandoned. The last 5 words there have been deleted to simplify it. For 1 or more years has been deleted from the definition.
Okay.
okay, we ready?
Yeah.
So there was one other thing. What was that, Terry?
That was, it was in large type for some reason.
Yeah, I'm sorry, on page 5.
Yeah, 5.
Reconstruction of a non-conforming structure shall not be permitted if the structure has been abandoned for more than 18 months as of the date of application. And that basically puts a limitation on grandfathering. If something was there was allowed strictly because it was grandfathered, and then it got destroyed, burnt down, demolished, or whatever. After 18 months, you can no longer put it back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question on that, but I think,
What's your question?
and is there, I'm just wondering how many times have there come about when somebody's had exigent circumstances on that 18-month? You know, when I think about after this last storm, hearing stories from people about not being able to build their wharfs in that amount of time, but I think we'll get there if we need to get there at the public hearing.
In the 2024 storm, the state did specifically make allowances.
Yeah, that's what I was,
But this is, you know. I'm not sure what you want to say or how to say it, basically, if and this occurred. When I was code enforcement officer, a guy asked me to come over and take a look at some things for him, because he was new to town and purchased a dwelling less than a year ago. And he wanted to rebuild this boathouse. And I said, "Where's the boathouse?" He said, "Oh, come over here," and took me to the edge of the drop off. And here was this, what used to be a structure, completely flat, covered with seaweed, a lot of mud and so on, but you could see that it had been a structure. He wanted to rebuild it. That thing had to have been down in the water for at least 10 or more years, based on the conditions you saw.
yeah,
So no, you can't rebuild that.
right, of course not. I think we cross that bridge if it needs to get there.
Yes,
All right, thank you, Bob.
you're welcome.
Wait, we're ready to deal with this last ordinance then?
Sure.
Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to use the revisions and to public hearing.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Thank you. That is unanimous.
All right.
That's the beat sheet.
Okay, we try.
Here we go. Budget time, right?
Yeah.
So this, we've been through this,
Yes.
we've been through this a few times.
Couple times.
We've sat in on various FAC hearings, so we should be able to get through this fairly quickly. We hope.
That's what you said about the ordinance.
True. All right. Mary, let's hit the highlights. Do you want to start on page, and Bob, let's, on page 2, we know that the county tax, I've got some highlights
Yep.
there.
Yep, the county tax, we know that 14 number is
Higher.
not a good number. We expect that to come in, like Aria said, more at like 9.9% instead of the 14.
We hope.
So, which if I get some numbers, by the end of the week,
Yeah.
we could probably tweak that.
Yeah,
The only other one that's still outstanding was I just haven't had a chance to get through all the homestead stuff. We just got
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
other stuff input, so, but other than that, there's really nothing on this front sheet.
Yep.
Like I said, each individual, now I did put page numbers on here, beside
Yeah.
it, so that you can see that the school budget's on page 5, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But other than that, there's nothing major on this sheet. Your entire budget, for everybody is coming in at a little over 7 million. After we've taken out all of those items, reductions. For undesignated fund balance, for homestead, and for municipal revenue sharing, we're down at almost 5.8 million. Currently looking at an increase of approximately 3.5 or 3.3%.
Yeah.
That's with
Okay, in
14.
allocations, correct, that's with the 14,
Yeah, so
okay?
that's
That does not include overlay, which you guys set yourselves.
right.
But, that's where we stand right now.
Okay,
I think that the expected revenue sheet is firm.
good.
I don't expect, any major changes on that, but again, I'll continue to look at that. The only thing that changed on that since last time you saw it was the addition of the $110,000 to be used from the, schools undesignated fund.
Yeah.
Okay? And then, so the school budget is complete right here. You'll see that this does not, the 2968,669, which is the total expenses, does not agree to the school budget. That's because we add that $7,500 in. So you'll see here the 2961, 169
Yep,
is, what this budget, what they presented to us, and then we add the 7,500 for their reserve to it,
Okay.
okay?
let me stop you there. We had that conversation with Elaine about, because the building had the repairs. We
Yeah.
talked about maybe bumping that up to 10,000. Did y'all talk any more about that? Did you and Elaine
We
happen to
did
talk
not.
about anything that?
We did not.
What's your reaction to that? That was about a $40,000 repair.
Right, it's got about 39,000 still sitting in it,
So,
yeah.
I don't, I'm just throwing it out there. And I'm
Yeah.
obviously curious about what Katie and,
Seems like
Kathy
the
thinks.
facilities have been hit hard this year.
yes.
Right, there's been a
Right.
lot of,
So I don't know if it
Repair.
makes sense to maybe look at upping that to 10.
We certainly could. We certainly could. Make a note.
If we upped it to 10 after the public hearing, and there'd still be time for the warrant, if we
Right.
had overwhelming folks come out and say,
Yeah.
why'd you do that?
Exactly.
So you'd still have, you could make the change now, present it,
Okay.
and if we
Okay.
needed, take it back.
Right. Yeah.
Change school,
Well, I'm just saying that
Reserve.
reserve fund.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got,
facility.
Yeah.
nobody was expecting that to happen on New Year's Day,
yeah, absolutely.
right? But it happened. We had, Kelly and Dale show up and
Yeah.
Carrie.
Yeah.
And.
We're talking
Managing-
$2,500.
I
It's
know.
not like we're talking a whole lot of,
Right,
additional funding,
right.
so,
And I
yeah.
know that Elaine spoke to that and we said, yeah, we'd look at that and I
and
just
then
think,
honestly, it never came up again.
exactly.
You know
So
what I
that's-
mean? So, yeah.
That's why I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw it out
So
there.
we can certainly change that school reserve, number, for
Okay,
sure. For sure.
let's see also,
Town offices salaries, this sheet is, as you folks, agreed to, a 3% increase for, all town office personnel. And then the merit increase line.
so,
Okay. So there is no FSC recommendation on this because the salaries are handled by the Board of Selectmen, so that's the only reason why there's no FAC recommendation.
yeah. And just as a reminder, the merit increases as a placeholder, because some employees have never been evaluated, some it's been many years, and, some it's been, some time anyway, and so that's all going to occur later this year. And so this is the potential merit increase for those employees who warrant that based on their reviews.
Right. So town office expense, which is part of the general government budget as far as, if you were to, if you're looking down the list. Again, this is up by 26.3%. The majority of that, is in your computer, software and maintenance line. We added the sketching program that it's like, and the hosting.
Right.
Which is like an additional $3,000 a year. So, and then we added, a little bit because we, are now, we have now a maintenance agreement on our Toshiba copier.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'll tell you on the county side, that's also one of the highest increases is the software.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
have to have
that's the world right now.
The assessor software is 13.
So we'll hope to, have our assessors' labor costs go down with the inclusion of this more efficient software.
Right. Yeah.
You had a question, I'm sorry.
No, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah,
The assessor software.
yeah, and that will help,
Really
you know.
very useful.
And
So-
as we approach the fact that in the near term, we will be getting a new assessor,
Yeah.
these are tools that other folks will expect us to have.
Right,
correct, yeah,
Keep us relevant.
yeah. Exactly, yep,
okay.
okay.
On to
So,
ten.
and then and obviously the FAC moved that entire 49,000 over to their recommendation line. So general government, page 8. Again, this is up by 26%, well, I shouldn't say the majority, a lot of that, excuse me, is your property assessing reserve fund, which went from 5,000 to 25,000, knowing that we've got to get this work done.
We've had a lot of abatement requests, so it has to get done.
Right, well, this is the reserve fund that
Oh,
allows us
yes,
to.
that's right, sorry,
Yes, to build for when it comes
Right.
time for, yeah.
right,
We did, however, increase the property assessing line by
Right.
$10,000 for the abatements.
Yeah,
And the fact that this year we are way over on that line item.
yeah,
It's gonna have to come from,
Painful.
contingency and all that
Contingency,
stuff,
yeah.
so, okay. I think, as you know, the budget is a crapshoot at the day in which you do it.
it's a projection.
Right, but we think we're close on health insurance, we think we're close
Right.
on workers' comp, you know.
Those, yeah, I
They're
know.
hard, they're
I
hard
know.
numbers.
They are hard
So,
numbers.
anyway, the town audit expense is also up, takes them longer to do it, just because, again, this is all the stuff that gets passed down to us from other things. These are all state regulations that they have to do more, this and that and the other thing, so. So this budget is up 6%. FAC is in agreement. I mean, this, and like I said, the capital expenses, line, those are to be taken directly from the funds. So,
Tyler, what were you gonna
And
say?
the only thing I'd mention when we talk about the property reassessing reserve fund, well, that is a sizable increase percentage wise. It'll put us only, the mid $150, between $100,000 and $200,000.
right,
It's gonna cost $400,000
Yeah.
by the
Right.
time we get to
I know.
Maybe
reassessment.
we should put 125 in.
right,
So I
Right.
just, as folks
Right.
might
It's
say
just done
that
4
number's
years.
high,
Mhm.
it really is not from where we need to be headed.
And we
Right.
will need to be addressing that at the public hearing and also
right.
at
Yeah.
town meeting if necessary.
Yeah, that 25,000 puts us at 142,500 in
Mhm.
reserve, it's, yeah. Well, it's funny because we started building that reserve 100 years ago, right, and then used it, and then we said, oh, we didn't need to, we think we were pretty good, and then we said, not anymore,
Inflation wasn't as bad then
that's right.
as it is now.
So planning board and board of appeals, page 10, the planning board clearly had dropped their budget significantly due to the mailing that they'd done last, all that stuff, so, this is a small budget, takes them back to where they used to be. And the board of appeals has got, $700 in there, pretty much, I think that kind of handles like 2 appeals.
Mhm.
Right?
Got one thing.
Conservation Commission. Their budget's down, it says 10.9%, it's $500. And they're not funding actually they are, they funded their reserve fund for surveying, just to have some money in there. They wiped the trail surveying reserve fund out, when they had the latest part of IFCAR done. And then, they just wanna build that in case although there's no other properties that the Conservation Commission has to do, sometimes surveying issues come up,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
Like
and they would like to have a little bit of money there to cover that.
cemeteries, these old cemeteries that we're finding, would that be conservation?
No,
No, that's cemetery.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
gotta make it to 100,
Uh,
double digits.
COPMB?
COPMB, their budget is up about, 15%. The majority of that is coming from that new line item, reserve fund. They are requesting that, we create a reserve fund for the Stone Schoolhouse. With their definition of how they're going to utilize that money, with the $5,000 that they, received from the,
Commercial.
commercial, okay? Animal control, again, we don't have an animal control officer. However, we are putting in, mileage and wages based on 100 hours at $25 per hour. And mileage based on 350 at our 70 cents.
And we are paying a little bit more than that right now, aren't we?
We pay to the city of Bath on a on-call basis.
Yeah,
Believe that rate we were paying was 35,
I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
which as far as I'm concerned is a great deal. The
Right,
guy comes down here and
Yeah.
he knows his job well.
Right.
So, yeah, code enforcement officer, this is strictly, pretty much your COLA increase, okay? Volunteer fire department. This is the one that
This is the
you're
one.
gonna need, we're gonna need your
Decision.
direction on here.
Yep.
As you know, so this is page 16, in the budget 26-27 line,
Yep.
Payroll, fire and EMS admin maintenance currently has 45,864. That is 3 days for a worker. Now, the FAC is recommending 29,994. That is a 2-day worker at the 3% that you guys had put for everyone's salaries. Okay, now, a couple of other comments about this. If you were to change this to a 3-day, if this is the same person, you then are talking about sick time and vacation
Yeah,
time,
that's what I wondered.
okay? So, which are not reflected here.
Right, cause now, at that point, he'd be eligible for those benefits,
Correct.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. Currently, this is a 2-day-a-week position. It was supposed to be 16 hours. For the 29,120. Half of which is covered by a grant. So the FAC said, leave it 2 days, we'll cover the second day. So the question is whether or not you want to pull the 45 over or the 29 or some semblance of the two.
Mary,
Okay.
hang on. So but it's 24, if we go to 3 days. The eligibility for sick and,
18
sick and
hours.
vacation is 18 hours, okay.
18
yeah.
hours.
Okay, go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
So
Yeah.
that does, and you said the benefits is not covered anywhere else in here.
That's
for
correct.
That additional day,
Yeah,
Correct, yeah.
or for the person who holds it, if it's all one person.
Right.
If he's already working 68 hours a week, what are the chances that it's the same guy?
was working
Well,
68 cause he's,
38 in Bath.
yeah, he's
20
38,
here.
yeah.
So he's 50 here. He's doing your 2 days right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he's already past the 18-hour threshold.
16.
16. Well, right. Supposed to be
It
16
says
hours. a week.
employees who work a minimum of 18 hours.
Correct,
Up to
right.
34 hours.
And every once in a while, he puts in, 18, or he puts in 17, or he puts in 21,
Okay,
If he goes out on a call and it's at the end of the day,
right.
Carries
Tax
over.
on- Okay.
So,
one of the other things you need to keep in mind about this, unfortunately. This is the future. You check around with the other towns, and there's a lot of people, a lot of other towns that have a person like this 5 days a week during the workday. 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, because all their volunteers are working jobs elsewhere.
I know.
Sure.
And we've already had a situation where Marty was the EMT for a call in the morning.
Right. Yep.
In the evening, there was not an EMT in town, we had to call back.
They don't.
Yeah.
They're emergency responders, but they don't go in the bag when they work over a certain number of hours. In other words, their response time, their alertness would go away if they were a pilot, for instance. You know what I'm saying?
Height limits.
I think so, but
It doesn't happen, I mean, in other words, we could hire someone who's going to be working 15 hours a day on top of his job somewhere else.
Yeah. I
And-
don't think there's any rule or regulation that covers that.
Not like truck drivers.
Yeah,
So when you say it's the way of the future, Bob, are you still standing by the FAC recommendation of 2 days, or are you saying the town should be getting with the
Consider
program
3.
and getting into line? I'm just asking, because the way of the future and the FAC
I'm
recommendation,
just saying. Look down the road,
okay.
long term. I endorse what we've got here. But it's gonna creep up on you.
Yeah,
and then the other,
Unless we
only other,
recruit some young people that don't have jobs.
but they don't have jobs.
Yeah, but then,
The unicorn.
if they're only 10 years old, we can't use them.
Junior firefighters, right?
That's right, I'm all for a junior firefighter program, let's be
And
clear
then the
about
only
that.
other difference on this budget is that the FAC had used your recommendation of 3% versus when we sat here and talked, we said this is 40 cents.
On the
We're
hourly,
using 5%, okay? So I'm just, dropping that stuff, but, I think that a couple of things that I just wanna make mention of right now. I think you taking a question to town meeting about the fire department future billing is a great idea. I would really like to see some more conversation at town meeting about what we think our fire department's supposed to look like. Because this question will continue to come up
Right.
until
It
we
has.
decide,
Yeah.
you know? And it's really everybody that needs to decide whether when you pick up that phone, do you wanna wait 15 minutes, Kathy? Or do you wanna wait 30?
Right.
You know, that's the question. So it, you know, I think that it's really important for us to have a bigger conversation.
Absolutely.
But for tonight's purposes, okay, realize that you can. Well, you can do anything you want to on there. Drop it right in the middle, whatever you want to do. But again, this is a fluid document and can be changed. You know, you could take this to public hearing and say there is a discrepancy between the FAC and the fire department. And why don't you give us some feet, or whatever. So it's up to you. So anyway, that's the one that's,
That's the one.
But to clarify on that, just so we're all back to the baseline, right now, we're paying for 1 day with a grant.
Correct.
FAC has recommended us paying for 2 days with no grant. Fire department is asking for 3 days with no grant.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And either way, we don't have a grant. So folks should know that. We're either gonna pay for 2 days or we're gonna pay for 3 days.
Right.
We have no grant.
Grant is not available.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Do we wanna move ahead?
I think so. Let's go
Okay.
through the whole thing and then revisit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Harbor Committee, it's up significantly. They are dumping, some money into their reserve
Sure.
fund because they utilized it to purchase the engine. Okay, which they just dropped in the water, I think, the other day, and, we're trying to get their hours on it, so.
Yeah.
But other than that, we've done it based on what you would wanted for the harbor master at $25 an hour. We did it 200 hours for the harbor master and 120 for the deputy. Okay. And then the Shellfish Conservation Commission. Is up significantly again. Because of the hatchery seed purchase. That's up quite a bit. And then the shellfish warden training. Is up just because, we wanna make sure that should we find a shellfish warden deputy, that we can get that person trained.
Yeah, the hatchery seed
Okay.
purchase is 3,000 up from last year.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then materials, for them to.
Right.
That's for them to do that sign
The sign about.
down to, down to, Sag Bay and all that stuff.
Point.
Oh,
About the cleanup after your animals,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's only Sag Bay, but that's where they wanna do signs.
I think it's just there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just Sag?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Solid waste management, so. Really, we put the merit increase line in. It's, and there's
There-
not a whole heck of a lot, a little bit of we bumped up their reserve fund by $2,000 because again, they utilized the entire thing. You refurbing the thing, wages up to 3% as you folks have requested, and the merit increase line. Do we, have those? Terry and I are both very comfortable with this hauling and tipping fee number not going up from last year. Because this, as much as, and as busy as we are as the town, that tonnage is pretty much it's level, doesn't really go too far. So, anyway, 252, that is, as requested. The roads budget, I'm a little nervous on, Terry and I sat down with John. John is looking at doing, West Georgetown, Martown, from Martown to the end. A Robin Hood Road Basin, by the Marine Center. And then some stuff at the base of the hill. Now, we know where oil's going, that's the only reason why I'm concerned. John feels strong that he can do what he needs to do in this budget. So, I'm happy with that. We also are continuing to, feed your reserve here. So that, we're looking at a reserve at the end of next year for a paving reserve of 671,000. Okay, Go ahead, Len.
And it's just worth noting as well that if things with oil do go sideways and we end up in a spot where we don't feel these numbers stand up, we could have a special town meeting.
Yeah.
And at that point, address it if we needed to.
Yeah.
Right, yep.
Fortunately, there's not a lot of paving here.
So.
Yes.
so-
What's that?
There's not a lot of paving in this budget.
Correct, he's only done that one, yeah,
Compared to previous years.
right,
Mm.
yeah. The
Alright.
snow removal, that is a contract. And we did, like I said, we did put that, as you requested, we put that 5,000 back in there for that escalation clause.
Mhm.
Okay, another spot so now we're on page 22, health, recreation and social services. These are the requests that come into us from the various places, asking for our help. The three highlights are the only three in which the FAC did not push forward or recommend their request. Seniors Activity Center, we gave them $500 last year, FAC is recommending $6. And they requested $8. Life Flight of Maine, we have never funded before, they have been here before a couple of times. They are requesting $529, we have not, the FAC has not granted that request. And then the Sweetser, last year they did not get their request in early enough, so they did not get any funding last year. Previous to that, it was $1,200, and they requested 13, FAC went with 12. So those are just whether or not, again, you could take this to town meeting or budget hearing just like this if you wanted to.
Mhm.
And say, because someone might come up, get up and say, well, I go to the seniors activity all the time and they need the money because of blah, blah, blah. That you and I might not know because we don't utilize it, so that's
happened
entirely up
before.
to you, yeah.
That's happened before in prior budget hearings where
Yes.
the numbers were changed. This is before I was on the board, but I did
Yeah.
notice that.
And one time when we tried to cut the patent free library, you thought we'd cut someone's head off, so, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So,
And then the recreation committee, again, pretty straightforward, a little over last year's budget. But mostly,
6.6.
yeah, it's not a whole lot of money, 6.6%. But yeah, I mean, it's 25%, but it's $50.
Mhm.
So when you look with a small budget like that, it's hard,
Right,
so.
exactly.
But again, the FAC, went with their recommendations or with the budget requests. The cemetery district trustees are down a little bit, mostly because they've, they did a bunch of tree trimming and stuff earlier. They reduced that line down to 1,000. They did leave in that $5,000 for the cemetery or the burial ground upkeep because of the Trafton situation. So they have put 5,000 or left 5,000 in their budget for that. And then there's some monuments over, mostly, when we talk about monument repair, we're pretty much talking Oak Cemetery, every once in a while 5 Islands. But these guys are really delicate. So, there is some work there to be done and they have budgeted for that.
And the mowing contract's up a little bit.
The mowing
It has to
contract
be.
is up a little bit. Jordan Wilcoxon is not doing it this year. They have, in fact, you folks, I think it's your last meeting, right?
Yeah.
Signed off on the.
Yeah.
On the,
Yep.
one with Charlie Usury.
Yep.
Okay, and then McMahon Island, all we do on this, as you know, this is private and special law. Bob, a few years ago, we did the spreadsheet just of all the McMahon properties and just do a quick calculation and there it is.
Mhm.
Okay, so the only two things really open for you tonight are the fire department.
Yeah.
And,
Social services.
social services.
Yeah.
So, again, and you could go either way. Go with the FEC recommendation, go with one of your own, go with the request from the committees, or take it to public hearing and see what the public says. It's
Yeah.
entirely up to you. So,
Let's start with the easy one first and go down to health, rec and social services.
Sure.
I'll just keep this moving along and I don't have a problem, with the 1,200 recommendation on Sweetser.
Okay.
The Bath seniors, you make a good point. I mean, in the FAC meeting, I think that y'all discussed how many, we had a good sense of how many seniors. We know some seniors from here access that. That might be one we want to hear from folks about at the public
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah.
But the difference is only 200 in between, yes, so we can split it and say 700.
Okay.
Or we can take it to public hearing, or we can go with the recommendation. I'm completely flexible on that, if y'all have a sense of that.
I'm comfortable with all three recommendations.
Me too.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Go with the FAC.
okay,
Go with the FAC at 6.
all right.
On
I'm
all
comfortable with
three.
that as well.
On all three.
Yes, on Life Light and everything.
Great. Done. All right, up to the fire department.
And I remember last year when the donations took us a lot longer.
A little bit
so that's
longer, yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you want to do on the fire department? Our options are, all the options that Mary just listed, so there's 3 of those.
Mhm.
I mean, clearly,
Brian-
we're sticking with 36,750 and 13,125.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
at the 5%.
Right.
That is what you would agree to.
Yep,
Um,
so it's
you know,
just that,
Yeah.
so it's
Looking at
that one
top.
item,
right,
yeah. That one item.
Not my place to speak, but I will. I will say that going up from 1 day to 2 days paid, I do think is a significant investment in the town. And as somebody who hears from taxpayers about concerns, while I think there's perfect merit here, I think increasing 1 day and using the next year to get data with the software we have to figure out what the right days are, to me would be an appropriate spot. I can respectfully disagree with Brian, but I totally understand the merit behind it as well. So just for what that's worth.
Yeah.
Kathy, do you?
I don't, I was glad that he described what this person's job would be, because I think it's important that we not hire someone who is gonna be on standby, basically, and it's important to have, I mean, that's a very important thing. But if we're paying someone to wait for the phone to ring,
Right.
I don't know if it's worth it for an extra day.
Yeah, that's not what he's
No,
doing.
that's, no.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marty's
Yeah.
not.
The person that they have now doesn't sit there on his
I know,
hands and do nothing. He
Mhm.
does maintenance, he.
Yeah.
He does inventories to make sure that everything's, up to date and we don't have out of date beds and stuff like that. As Brian said, he takes the vehicles out and drives them around,
yes.
because if you don't use a diesel engine, it goes to hell in a handbasket pretty quick.
It sounds
it's
like
important.
they have work, a lot of work for that person to do on the 2 days they have that person right now.
Right.
Do they have enough work for a third day?
I can't answer that question,
Yeah,
cause I'm not that close to it anymore. Basically I age out, but,
right.
yeah. I think that there's still plenty of work there that can be done. But
That's-
I'm an outsider looking in.
Okay,
Speak up.
so, well, we're trying to get this.
For the FAC,
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
fire
No
department
problem.
for years, so.
Mine was more of a principled matter, going from 1 day to 2 days. Or going from 1 to 2 days or 1 day to 3 days. I thought 2 would be a nice step. I was the one who talked to Brian about, you wanna look at reducing your reserve fund. Cause the fact of the matter is, whether it's 60 or 75,000. We're gonna be woefully short of the 450,000 we need next year for a new vehicle.
Right.
I don't know, $15,000 alone is gonna make a difference. And that would keep the budget balanced. I do think we are headed towards, in spite of what I push for the recommendation, I do think we're headed to 4 or 5 days a week. At least one person, not two. 2 people, 5 days a week is 180,000.
Yeah.
And if you add the weekend,
add
it's even
bennies.
more. Yeah, it benefits and all that.
Yeah, I think that with the 3, we're trying to avoid those calls to Bath. And
Correct.
and the maintenance and the fueling up and taking a little bit off of the chief's plate too, his responsibilities.
It's
Well,
a
am
very
I here?
complicated situation with a lot of unknowns.
It is.
It's part of the problem.
That's the problem.
Are you wanting to bring it to public hearing like this and just present both sides and get some feedback? Do a placeholder?
My instincts is to go with the FAC recommendation. I think it's very complicated and I really appreciate what Chief Whalen is doing and trying to make the best that it can be. But, yeah, that's what I would do, I think.
Mhm.
I go back and forth on it.
It's a hard one. It
Mhm.
really is.
I thought he did a good job of justifying the third day.
Yeah.
And I agree with Bob and you that we're headed in the direction where our young volunteer, people who could be the first responders are gonna be working and the older people are not gonna be doing night calls or whatever, they're gonna be doing when they can.
Well, there's
This
also
person
the
is at
issue of
night.
staffing.
Yeah, that's the
Person's
risk.
not here during the night.
That's kind of the risk with this is just, we
Yeah.
don't know that third day, what that will look
Right.
like.
Right, that's,
And we did hear in the presentation tonight from Brian that there's the chance that next year we realize the third day wasn't necessary and we
Right.
could take it off. Which is
Right.
why I just go back to I'd rather take steps and
Gather
get data.
Data.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But I totally, in the same breath, understand the need.
yeah.
I would agree with you.
So, sounds like a motion.
Should I make the motion?
Let's do it.
Okay, I move to follow the guidance of the FAC on this. Go with the 2-day a week for the volunteer fire department budget.
Second.
And I'm gonna, yeah, nope, let's call for the vote. All in favor?
And that is unanimous.
And I'd just like to comment, understanding that we can take a look at this again next year. Think,
Oh,
the
yeah,
data's gonna be important.
Definitely.
We have this new program that Brian can use. And we understand it is a bigger conversation. It has to be, and we've been talking about this every year for as long as I can remember, actually, the most recent years,
And the
eight or
reserve
so
fund,
years,
it's hard for me to justify pulling money from the reserve fund.
right?
I would, I mean, as the finance person, I would fight you on that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't win, but I would fight you on, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
just think that those are the things we need to do. We
Yeah.
need to build for. We're talking about a $500,000, $750,000 for this
I know.
ambulance.
right. I
That's the
know.
cost of
That's
the
the-
revale.
Right,
That's the
you know,
hard-
so
that's
it's,
the-
there's a lot of, no way we're not taking out a loan, I mean, and
Right,
it's one of the things that, we've always been so proud about is that we don't owe anybody any money,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So
for sure.
it's hard to make these hard decisions, so, yeah.
All right,
Is there
Okay,
a
so-
to send this to public hearing?
there is. I'm gonna make that motion to send it to public hearing. I gotta move this meeting along.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
So what we're missing right now is the things that are outside of the town, the county.
The county
Correct.
budget,
The county, yeah,
that's it.
yeah. Now, speaking of the county, do you want me to fix this to maybe be 12% rather than 14?
Yeah,
Or would
yeah.
you like me to fix it to 10%?
I
What
don't
do you
think it's gonna be 14. I hesitate to say it's gonna be 10.
I know,
Because
right,
the commissioners can do what they want.
Right.
So I think 12 is a happy
Okay.
medium, and I think that's a good conservative placeholder.
right. And we can say that, I mean, we're gonna
Yeah.
say that we don't have this solid
Right.
number yet.
Right. And in the meantime.
And I only use 14 because that's what it's been the past couple of years.
Yeah.
so,
Yep,
Yeah, okay, good. I'll
Okay,
make
good.
those changes.
all right, thank you, Mayor.
And resend the budget out to the Finance Advisory Committee. And send it on to Mr. Tyler so that it can be posted for public hearing.
And we'll explain the 10,000 up in that reserve account that we talked
Oh,
with
absolutely.
Elaine about
For
it.
sure.
We can, if you'll let Elaine know.
Yes,
Well, one of y'all,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just that Elaine Pinker money.
Yep.
Next up
Of
is
course.
town report designation.
Town report designations,
So-
let's do it.
In true fashion, we thought we came up with a good system that would come up with a clear consensus, and I have a 5-way tie.
Oh, my
So
God.
I have a handy cover photo 28, which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
It is beautiful.
We have a handy cover photo 19 painting that is beautiful. We have a cover of 8,
So different.
which is beautiful. They are.
Mhm.
We have a winter scene at Five Islands, which is beautiful.
Yeah,
And we have another right here.
yeah.
And so if the board has any strong preferences, or I could have the town office make a tiebreaker, I kind of
For the
personally
cover,
like
yeah, I like that
the
too.
8. I also like the coast. I'd say the photographs versus the paintings more likely, because I just want to get confirmation from the artist.
I like that, and it ties into the working order.
Yeah, I do too.
Good point, yeah.
The lobster pot still life.
We'll go with that.
Yeah,
Perfect. We'll include the other selections in as well. And I've had 2 children that I promised would have their art in the town report, so.
I chose one of those kid ones.
Yes, you did.
That
It just
was
didn't
good.
rise to the
That's
top of the
okay.
time.
I just, I think it's good to
Amen.
spread the love amongst the generations.
Oh, yeah.
So
All
we'll
right.
do number 8, and congratulations to Marcus Parsons.
Okay.
Thank you. And next up is the citizen petition.
Yes. So, Tyler, you heard back from legal and that meets the statutory requirements. So we just need to decide whether or not it goes on this town meeting warrant or we have a special election.
And what I
Special
think,
town meeting,
if
excuse
we
me.
did the special town meeting, it would need to be within 60 days of the date of the verification, which happens to fall right on town meeting.
The same,
So
the same
the
period of
question is,
time.
do we want a special town meeting before for that sole item, or do we
No.
want to include it on the warrant?
Absolutely not. I'm gonna include it on the warrant.
But are we gonna have a hearing, or a community education thing on it first?
So I think first thing we'd want to do is take a vote tonight to send it on to the warrant or its inclusion, accept the petition, and then we could talk about that.
Yep.
I do think that having a discussion about this the night of the ordinance hearings would probably be a good flow through. It's similar to what we did with the Blueberry Hill easement
That's right.
discussion.
Yep,
Good.
And I'm thankful this doesn't require a map, because that was fun to draw.
yeah, we'll need to, yeah, let's take a vote. I move that we add it to this town meeting warrant.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
And that is unanimous.
And then, yes, I think that makes sense. We've said over and over again that we're going to ensure that the town has time to review any of these changes, so we've got, we'll add it to the hearing on the
26.
26th, and afterwards we'll have our meeting still, right? So we're gonna have several,
That'll be the night we finalize the warrant.
yeah, that'll be the night we finalize the warrant, but we'll have several things to discuss on the 26th.
Yes.
All right,
And lastly is setting the date for candidates night. I have
Yes.
polled the candidates with 2 dates. There were no objections to any. However, one Kathy could be on the island for, which was June 1st, correct? So I would recommend that we go with June 1st. It would be a Zoom only candidates night with no opposed candidates. Why not make the audio and acoustics better for everyone tuning in?
yes.
Does that work?
Yes.
June 1st, and Nancy Kinner will be moderating.
Great.
And lastly, I wanted to check in on the times for public hearings. We set the time for the ordinance public hearing, but the town budget hearing, we just have the day. Do we want to go with 6:30 on the 14th or 7?
I'll defer to my colleagues for whatever.
And that is a Thursday.
I'm sorry, what are we talking about?
Budget public hearing on the 14th of May.
Have it in my calendar at 6.
6 is even better.
I don't know, whatever.
Can you make 6?
Yeah,
Can you make 6?
solid waste has a 7 o'clock meeting.
And I believe they've actually moved their meeting
They did, okay.
because they were aware of this.
On the 14th, yeah?
Yes. So 6 o'clock or 6:30?
Yeah,
Alright.
Is there, like, how are the items presented? Do we have a role that someone needs to tell me ahead of time?
you have to do it all, Kathy, I'm so sorry.
As the new
We're
selection.
gonna talk about that tonight at 11.
Typically, the finance director and the chair of the FAC present the budget at the budget hearing. When it comes to the ordinances, the chairs of the relevant committees would be there to answer any questions that folks might have. So
Perfect, thank you. I don't know why I suddenly had this.
that said, I love this idea.
All right.
Then we're gonna throw the poor girl under the bus.
You should have seen your face.
And we
You
do-
knew I was joking. All right, and now we are ready for public comment.
Oh, yeah.
So do we have any public comment for the last three standing? Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, about the, and pardon me if my words get mixed, it's late, as you know. The billing for the ambulance services, there, I have had some feedback from people that are confused about whether or not people would be billed themselves.
Right.
And even though I attended that, and I know that question was addressed, and I think pretty clearly, there still seem to be some people that are confused about that, so that may be something that has to be clarified along the way. And I appreciate the fact that you're bringing that whole question of the billing to the town, to decide whether or not we pursue it. Because yes, change is hard, but we didn't used to pay our fire department either, to the point where we're paying them, and we've made that change, and the town has taken on a lot of financial responsibility for the fire department, so if there's a way to recoup some of that, I think we should really consider it, and the townspeople should have the opportunity to speak or to weigh in on that. And the last thing I wanna say is that I am one of those people that think that the working ordinance, the working waterfront thing should be a proclamation. Essentially, in my mind, the difference between an ordinance is an ordinance has the ability to force law and can impose penalties. And from what I've read in the ordinance proposed, there are no penalties that are being proposed. But a proclamation is a formal announcement. And I think that's essentially what this ordinance is doing. It's a formal announcement of who we are and what we believe in. And so I don't see the point of putting another ordinance on the books that is just not anything that we're enforcing. So why not just make that proclamation about who we are? Thank you.
And we do have one on Zoom.
Yes, okay. David,
Yes, thank you. Two comments. First, regarding the building and demo review, I would like to thank Mr. Brown. It's a mite complicated to explain those specific concerns, and he does it well. My second comment, there was no update comment from the select board representative regarding the last planning board meeting. From that discussion, when select board members become scared by citizens' public comments, we have a serious problem. Aggressive public comments need to be controlled by the select board. And if select board members are so influenced that they become scared, that's an issue that should concern all of us. Thank you.
Hi,
Any-
Taylor. I'm also here and I just can't, I'm on my phone and I can't figure out how to raise my hand.
oh, that's okay. Go ahead, Clara.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. So thank you for all the explanations and the thoughtful discussion tonight. It was initially a bit disheartening to see more restrictions coming through on STRs after the last meeting that I attended. But I do agree that I feel like these need more time. They shouldn't be rushed. I really liked the idea last time of a working committee with some other stakeholders being involved in discussions like this and decisions like this around ADUs and STRs. And as far as I can tell, the state doesn't require STR restrictions. So I just feel like if we know how a lot of people in town are feeling, and we don't have data showing an overwhelming issue, I'd like to advocate for us to take the least restrictive path towards all of this. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment before we conclude? Okay. Thank
We
you.
have a motion for an executive session.
Yes, we,
I move to
Enter executive.
enter
session.
executive session pursuant to MRS section 4056A.
thank you. All those in favor? And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We're gonna go into executive session on a personnel issue.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, we have exited executive session. It is now 10:37. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The meeting's adjourned at 10:37.